Good afternoon.
And we are live and unchained. Welcome, Future Shark. Another sunny Sunday in London. How you doing?
Yeah, I can confirm that there's no chains here. That's definitely confirmed. Yeah,
You're
I'm
not
okay.
into that, right?
It's not been. Yeah, I'm not into all that kind of thing. It's not been too bad, to be honest with you. I was expecting worse with this quote unquote heat wave that was allegedly happening, but I don't think it's been. It's not really been that bad, to be honest with you. I don't know how you've been. You're more sort of south. Are you southwest London? You're southwest, aren't you?
Oh
Southeast.
yeah, give me away to the assassins, bro. I mean, what I've told you about that, man. Come on, I
North.
don't want gang stalkers after me now. Yeah, I am actually, as a matter of fact. So come and get me, motherfuckers. Yeah, I went swimming yesterday. It's really nice in this weather.
In the Thames.
In the Thames, as you say, the Thames. I swam in the Thames, just not in London.
And you're still alive now, which is quite
It's
admirable.
quite an invigorating experience, to tell the truth. It's quite nice.
And most people would kind of like suggest that that's a bad idea, but like you've proved them wrong. Like, so screw them. Fuck those people who don't want you to swim in the Thames. I can't. I mean, like, do you know what stroke did you do? Because there's only one. I can only really do front crawl, to be honest with you. If it's
Well,
breaststroke
I was
or
with a lady, but I didn't get a stroker.
you were breaststroking. Okay,
Ah, nice. I do all the strokes, man. I'm a master of strokes.
a master stroker.
The one thing I didn't do was a butterfly.
Yeah, butterfly is kind of weird, isn't it? It's a weird technique. I don't know, man. It's just yeah, it's not. It's not for me. It's not for me. But yeah, that's good. Well, I haven't been swimming since I was probably. It's probably about 30 years since I've swam. That's crazy, isn't it?
What, you haven't had a swim for 30 years?
Probably. I mean, like I haven't been to a gym that's had a pool or anything like that for, hang on a second, 10, 20, let's say 25 ish years, probably. Yeah.
Well, it's
Crazy.
not quite as bad as not having had a bath for 25 years, but it's equally incomprehensible to me how you can go that long without swimming in. What? Seriously, you swam in a pool, right?
No, I've
No.
not,
Wow,
I
oh
don't have
no.
like a desire to go to pools. Like, I mean,
Oh,
I just don't really, I'm not really that bothered, to be
man,
honest.
I love swimming, man. It's brilliant.
But yeah, no, it is fun. It is fun. If you plonk me into the water randomly, then I will be fine. But like, yeah,
Dare I ask? Dare I ask the question? Can you swim? I mean, that
oh
is a
yeah,
very
of course I
personal.
can swim. Yeah, I can swim. Yeah. No, I was good at front crawl. I used to win like front crawl races, but I was really, really bad at like anything else, like butterfly, for example.
Yeah, the butterfly's hard though. I mean, that's
It's
a
a
really.
weird
Is it
coordination, isn't
the
it?
fastest one? Is it like the fastest stroke you can do? But it's also the most tiring.
Probably if you get it right, yeah. Um, I don't know because yeah, front crawl is. I suppose butterfly is a bit more of a gliding motion. So if you get it right, then yeah, it's probably faster than a front crawl. But yeah, all I could do was front crawl, back crawl. I swear there's another one that I'm forgetting, but I couldn't do breaststroke that well. Not in the water, anyway.
I see what you mean. You've been hanging
Yeah,
out with Jack Hole again.
yeah. No, he's a bad influence. He's a bad
He's
influence.
bad influence, yeah. King of the euphemisms. So yeah, what's going on? I mean, listen, next week there's a bit. You told me earlier on you're watching Usyk Fury 2, and we're
Yeah,
big
man.
boxing fans here at Truth Shop.
Well, yeah, man. We're both big boxing fans, and like it's interesting because we differ on the Usyk Fury second.
Right, what's going on?
I have it slightly to Usyk. I can get either way though. Like this is the thing. It's like I can understand either sort of perspective, but I just feel that like Fury didn't really do like other than jabs that were effective. Let's not you wouldn't want to be on the end of a Fury jab. Do you know what I mean?
No, I
But
wouldn't. No.
he didn't do anything
I'm with
beyond
you,
that.
guys.
It was just jabs all the time. And Usyk came with a bit more like creativity and hit him a bit more with the creativity. So I just think he shaded it. It's not fucking. It's close as fuck though. To be fair.
Yeah, as I said before, I think Fury won both fights in my opinion, and my thing has always been to score each round individually, rather than sort of say that Usyk had a spectacular eighth round where he just wobbled the heck out of Fury. He was just completely like bouncing from one end of the ring to the other. You know, everyone they show that, and it looks like Usyk battered him, but it was just a good round. But that
I mean,
first fight, there was a lot of like there wasn't a huge amount of action. I think even less action in the second fight, really. But I think Fury was literally going round by round, and that's why on both occasions he thought he'd won because you know he was just going. He was getting more hits in than Usyk in most rounds. He was making more contact, and I think that if you're sort of scoring boxing on who lands, a Fury landed more, and I think even the stats indicated he landed more, but it was just less. The shots were less impressive, perhaps, or
yeah,
it just always seemed to me though when they played the highlights of each round on TV, they always focused on Usyk and his hits, and I just felt there was a bias. I just thought, I think it's all that Ukraine stuff, that pro-Ukraine stuff. You know how he won against Dubois in the first fight, right? And they've got Dubois 2 coming up this next Saturday. But that was like political, right? Because how long did Usyk have off out of a fight because he so-called got hit below the belt when it was on the belt, and he had like 5 minutes off to recover. And that was
to be
bullshit,
fair, he's been hit in that way multiple times as well. Like Fury did the same thing, hit him on the belt, as you say, which is true. So yeah, I didn't think it was low. I didn't think that was either of those.
You don't think it was low? Yeah, I don't think it's low either. Yeah, some people do,
no,
but no way. So on the basis of that not being low, he should have won that fight because that's a knockout. You know, if he's incapacitated for 5 minutes or so, I think it took him like 3 or 4 minutes to recover it. That's a knockout. It's over. Do you know what I mean? It should have ended there, but because it was in Germany, in Poland, wasn't it? In Poland, in Wrocław, right? There's all that political sort of pro-Ukraine sort of thing behind it. So I didn't like it. But this time, right, the fight's going to be in Wembley on home turf. So you may get a better result this time.
No, it's going to be interesting. I still think Usyk's just going to have too much for Daniel Dubois, but it's going to be very, very interesting. It's an interesting sort of like clash. I mean, I think, it was in Wrocław, what's it called, Poland?
Yeah, Wrocław is how they pronounce it, because I was there a couple of weeks ago, yeah. Wrocław.
Sorry, Polish listeners. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but
it was the final. Wasn't the final of the Europa League there? Or was it
it was the final of the what's it called? The Conference League.
Oh, the conference, the third tier cup. Yeah.
The one that like no one really cares about, but that one, the one that Betis were in, So and lost, unfortunately. But so
you support Betis?
So I support Arsenal and Betis. Yeah. So,
that's all right. Yeah.
Betis is a great club to support because it's kind of like there's no massive expectation like it's like Real or Barca, and like all their fans are pleasantly mental. Like you go to a home game and it's a carnival. Every home game is like a carnival. It starts about a day before the game starts, and like everyone's just pissed for about 48 hours, and the whole city is just pissed for 48 hours. It's great. Betis is a fantastic club to support. Like I really would recommend. I can't give them any less praise. Like it's a party atmosphere. Let's say when there's a game on, when the season is on. So Seville as well is a great city. It's a really, really nice, pristine. It's quite sort of old school in the sense of like it's got the oldie timey buildings. It's not being kind of like overwrought with newfangled whatever, or is it like a McDonald's or a Burger King or whatever? Like it's still quite oldie timey. Just don't go in the summer because it's like fucking 46 degrees, man. Horrific.
I tell you what, the truth is, when I went to Seville, I didn't like it very much because I thought it'd be gypsy flamenco guitarists jumping out from every corner, but all I saw was a load of hyped up coppers arresting people who were just like gypsies and stuff, trying to sell things on the street. And I just saw the cops just arresting these sort of peddlers. Yeah, in Seville. And I thought, this isn't very friendly. It's not a friendly place. I honestly don't think so. I don't know. Have you been there?
Yeah, no, I've been there like 8 times. It's like Okay, maybe you just had like a little bit of an unlucky one, because
Well, yeah.
it's usually
Maybe
good
I
for
went
me.
off season when everyone was just in a bad mood, but I don't know.
What time of year did you go? Like
Um,
when?
or like autumn, early
Oh,
autumn, maybe sort of September, October time.
okay,
October, I think. Yeah, yeah,
okay. Yeah, I've never been
yeah.
in autumn actually. To be honest with you, I've been. I usually go around April before it gets too crazy hot. But yes, some more earthquakes are going on then.
Yeah, so now the total on the Takara Island chain is nearly 2,000 quakes since June 21st. So that's 20 odd days, right? Shy of a month, yeah. So that's been
Yeah,
increasing obviously ever since. It went up. I think a week ago it was 400 or something, and it's just exponentially increasing.
yeah, that's
And
crazy.
this is a critical position. This is the critical sort of tectonic rift between Philippines and Japan, where this island is. Yeah.
2,000 in a month is a lot of tremors. It's a lot of tremors. It's kind of like it's something building up. It makes you ask questions, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, yeah, that's not good for the people of Takara Island. They're going to be worried right now. Worried about people's predictions and stuff like this, because the big thing hasn't hit yet. But I don't know. Maybe she's off by a week or so. Who knows?
Well, no, the thing is, apparently, I think the update kind of was that she says that the publisher wanted to give a specific date, uh, more to make it sort of more, you know what? I don't know, like, sort of appealing or a bit more focused on a particular date. And also, it was that she still insists that something's going to happen in July in Japan. But
Yeah.
the latest was that she's clarifying that she had the dream on the 5th of July, but that something is going to happen specifically 25th 2025, the 25th solar cycle. Well, that's by the by, it's the 25th cycle, but yeah, something July. But yeah, like
Oh,
you say, everything's
20,
building up to it, right? We've got 2,000 tremors in this, where she says this will happen, and it'll be created by the separation or joining together of the underwater
I mean, yeah.
continents
If nothing
rift. You know,
happens, if nothing actually happens, it's still like her predictions are still kind of good. Do you know what I mean? It's like she's still kind of like in the right ballpark, given the.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, so yeah, if nothing happens, then it will be a case of like, oh, that's really lucky. That's good that didn't happen. And it won't be like that she's a fraud. It'll be like, yeah, she somehow knew. I don't think she's a geophysicist. Honestly, I don't think she could have predicted that this solar cycle and this time and year would be the most active that has been known for a long, long time. But
yeah,
yeah. So we just got to obviously hope nothing does happen. So maybe pray, manifest. Talking about manifestation, the key thing, right? Remember what we set
yeah,
up?
yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about it. Yeah,
I completely forgot, and I make no excuses for that. But I am gonna I'm gonna write on the wall for me to remember. But yeah, I wasn't on it, so
yeah. I've been a
what
bit
about,
hit and
yeah.
miss with it as well, but I've been kind of like trying as much as I can. Yeah, but nothing yet. Nothing yet. No, no silver keys. No
No
gold keys.
half of a key. I
Yeah,
expect
no
you to
half
find
keys.
two halves of a matching key, like 20 miles separate or something. Just
That's
from
how it
two
works.
halves of separate keys would be quite cool. But
I mean, yeah,
until
if
we
I
get that.
found two halves of a key, I mean, that would be something because, like, that isn't a normal thing to find, like a half
I
of.
have actually snapped a key in half before it can be done,
Very
but it was
nice.
because I was drunk. So
You
there's
had
things you
good
can see.
strength.
Human abilities coincide sometimes with excessive alcohol consumption. In this case, it did. You know that when you're just so drunk and you just do something, you don't know you've done it, and you think, "Oh, what was that?" And you just broke a key in half, or in the lock or something, which is what I did. Ever had those
Yeah,
kind of drunken superpowers?
yeah. I've been to the gym before, pissed in the past, and it's kind of like, oh yes, I can lift everything. Like, oh no, I can't. Okay, never mind. Yeah, you get like a false sense of your own sort of strength. But yeah, no, it's not too bad. Just as long as you have a few mints to hide the fact that you're presenting as an alcoholic potentially. But yeah, um, what we're seeing in Japan is kind of like actual. This is actual climate change, isn't it? This is kind of like this is to some degree climate change, if you want to call it that. I'm not trying to like be doomsdayish
Are
or
you a
whatever.
friend of Greta Thunberg's now?
Greta, is what a human she is. What a great actress she is. She's actually literally an actress, isn't she? It's quite crazy. There is a girl at my gym who looks like Greta Thunberg as well. By the way, it's a bit weird.
Uh huh. Why does she have fetal alcohol syndrome as well?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, that's what that is, isn't it? That Greta Thunberg look, without making any allegations, allegedly, etc. But anyway, I won't say any more. But have you heard that rumor?
No, I haven't. Oh, by the way, I must say your mic is perfect this week.
Is
I've
it?
not heard. Yeah, your mic is sounding. Whatever you've done this week, your mic is sounding bang on. Hopefully, mine is okay as well. Well, you haven't
I ain't done
complained,
nothing.
so I guess it's cool. But like, it's there's no because oftentimes there's kind of like little like background sounds, but so far we've been going like 17 minutes now, and I've not heard any background
All
sounds.
right, this is great content about my mic. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is like this is
This is
quality.
tech. Yeah. I mean, listen, that's fine because to be honest with you, Alistair Williams. Do you know that guy? The Burger King, the Burger King Brexit guy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
His streams are just always tech streams. And he's just fucking around with his stream. He can't get anything to work. So we're doing quite well, and he's been doing it for years. So
What, he can't get his streams to work?
he
It's
never
not that.
seems to be able to. It's obviously he is because he's on the stream, but he's always having technical problems, and his whole show is asking his viewers to help him with his technology, right? With StreamYard and all that, yeah.
Well, that kind of sucks. It's not that difficult, surely. I mean, StreamYard is a bit of a bitch, to be fair, but like it's been chucking people out as well recently, which has been
Yeah,
random.
yeah.
He chucked you out the other day, didn't he? He chucked you out last week,
Twice.
didn't
I've been chucked out twice, yeah.
he?
StreamYard, yeah, threw
So
me out
yeah,
twice.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah. So there's going to be more earthquakes around Japan, and it's just non-ending, isn't it? It just keeps on picking up, which is crazy.
I mean, presumably it will end when the solar cycle goes down to the solar minimum, right, in the next few years. But the point is, you don't want anything, a big earthquake or a volcano, to happen during that time. It's less. Remember, we looked the American statistics that all the big earthquakes in America always coincide with the solar maximum, the 11-year cycle, the peak of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's something that's just not talked about, is it? Like, obviously, we talk about it, and people that we know, the likes of our guy Stefan and all that, talk about it, but it's not really something that's in sort of like common discourse, is it? It's not really talked about. It's like this is something that is really affecting activity on the planet for an obvious reason, and no one wants to talk about it. No one is willingly talk about it. I don't know, man. It's strange. It's probably
Oh, you've got.
accountable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go on,
It's
sorry.
pretty weird. You've got something lined up there, I see. Yeah, in the backstage area, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just in the observatory before. So this kind of does it worry me? I don't know if it worries me or not, but like, so this is Atlas, this little thing at the center of the red target thing there. Atlas is the third interstellar object that's basically come from outside of the solar system and just popped into the
All
solar
right, we
system.
lost your mic a minute there, bro. So we got a bit of tech problems on your end now. You just spliced out for a few bits, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You might. You can hear you just spliced out. Just see what happens. Just keep going. Yeah,
Can you hear me now? Is it okay?
I can hear you now. Yeah, but you spliced out a bit. Just
All
let's
right.
see what happens. Yeah.
I'll just basically what it is this is a interstellar object that's like an asteroid. It's 20 kilometers wide. 20 kilometers wide. Bear in mind, the one that wiped out the dinosaurs was about 1 kilometer wide. So this
Is
is
that right?
20.
That's it. Is that only? Is it true? It's
Yeah,
only 1 kilometer wide.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very, very minimal compared to the size of this thing. But this thing, thankfully, isn't on a collision course with Earth. It's just being sucked in by the sun, basically, as a lot of these things are. But my point is more that, like, we keep discovering these things, and for me, this is kind of like more dangerous than any fucking climate change type shit that people want to talk about. I mean, we keep discovering things that are just entering into the solar system that are 20 odd kilometers wide. And obviously, that's a wipeout. As soon as that hits Earth, that's wipeout. Everyone's
Well,
wiped
I've
out.
just checked, and apparently the dinosaur extinction asteroid was 10 to 15 kilometers. But yeah, apparently,
Okay.
just yeah.
All right. Cool. That's fine. But still, it's extinction level size sort of thing. So yeah, it's and we just discovered it sort of thing. So we just noticed it. It just noticed it as it entered into the solar system, and Jupiter is too big and fast for Jupiter to have the effect that it has on most of the comets. Jupiter's like the bodyguard of the solar system kind of thing, the inner solar system. But yeah, so yeah, this kind of like, and those streaks there, those are other stars. Those streaks, they're not like asteroids or anything. They're just the streak of the due to the camera exposure, sort of like trajectory visualization, like an overlay sort of thing. So yeah, those things are stars. But yeah, we keep finding these things. We found Oumuamua in 2017. We found Borisov in 2019, and now we found Atlas in 2025. It just takes one to be heading towards us. Do you know what I mean? It just takes one to be heading towards us, and we are fucked. Well, there's nothing we can do. If we suddenly discovered a 20-kilometer asteroid heading trajectory to Earth tomorrow, it's just about to enter the solar system. What are we going to do? Like, literally, what are we going to do? It's firing.
I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start drinking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I would be doing it as well. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we're fucked, man. If that is the case, so like for me, it's like that is more dangerous than fucking climate change and all this shit. So this thing came from Sagittarius constellation, Sagittarius, which is 26,000 light years away. Light would have to travel for 26,000 years to
Hang
get
on,
to.
I think it came in the direction of Sagittarius. It didn't come from Sagittarius. Do you know what I mean?
Believe
It
it
wouldn't.
Sagittarius. I'm not too sure. Well, I'm not like 100% sure, but like, yeah,
Hmm.
it came from that area. I mean, like maybe the constellation kind of like dragged it in or whatever. Um, actually, no, yeah, it was from Sagittarius. Sorry, I was just looking at my notes for a second there. Yeah, it was from Sagittarius. Yeah, you could be right. It could just be like rebounded off of Sagittarius potentially. I don't. Well, I mean, how do we know? Like, how do we know where it's come from? We don't really know, do we? Sort of thing. So we just spotted it, so we can kind of like just plot as much of a trajectory as is possible, kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, your
So
mic just dipped out again, man. Your mic just dipped out for a minute. But so listen about this thing. When did they detect this asteroid?
so I hope my mic is okay now. But it was kind of about a month ago, I think. Now.
So
Does that sound
literally, they
okay?
had no idea it was there before.
No, this is the point. This is the point. We keep spotting these things belatedly, and it's like we
Yeah.
spot them when they're just about to enter the solar system or just entering the solar system. And for now, they've been fine. They've not been on a trajectory with Earth. But if we're going to, like, the potential is there for us to spot something that's, 20 kilometers wide, that's on a fucking crash course for our planet. And this worries me more than, climate change, doomsday proclamations and all that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. Yeah, I feel like the asteroid is the thing that will get us, if anything. If anything's going to get us, it will be the asteroid. It won't be us destroying ourselves with nuclear weapons. It won't be climate change. It won't be aliens. I think it will be like an interstellar kind of like intruder as such.
Right. Yeah. The thing is, though, it's like when a solar flare, right, is direct, it fires out of the sun. There's a thing called the plane of the ecliptic, which is kind of roughly the planets kind of roughly sit on a kind of same level, but they don't entirely. But when the sun fires out a solar flare, it's very quite rare that it gets aimed directly at Earth. So most times we don't get affected by them, even though there's this massive solar flares, because there's like a 360 spherical point of projection. So the flare comes from any part of the sun. But for it to actually pinpoint and hit Earth, if you see what I mean, it's like it's not that common. So I'm thinking in a similar way, for an asteroid to hit the Earth, it's not necessarily going to be on this flat plane, like where the Earth is just sitting like a pinball. Obviously it's a spherical. It's going to take quite a lot of bad luck for an asteroid to hit us directly, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like we've talked before about how we're in a kind of like cosmic sort of like back ends. We're sort of like quite remote in terms of the location of the Earth. So that plays in as well. But we are lucky that we have Jupiter. We have a planet the size of Jupiter that is shepherding most of the threats away from the inner solar system. If it wasn't for Jupiter, we'd all be fucking dead in about, I don't know, 10 minutes. I don't
But the
even
sun
know.
as well, because they all fire into the sun eventually, don't they? These comets, that's their life.
Yeah, they've been dragged.
That's the end of their life care, is heading towards the sun and then just dissolving, right?
Yeah, they're being dragged into the. I mean, like, because obviously the sun is the mass, isn't it? The sun is the main mass of this little area, the solar system and whatever, this little area. And yeah, the sun is the main dragging mass, isn't it? So it's attracting everything to it, like from it, whether it's Mercury, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, whatever, and also all the like little bits like the asteroids and stuff. So yeah, it's everything's on a trajectory towards the sun, and this is kind of what people need to understand about when we look at the school and university posters and stuff like this that show Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, blah blah blah, and it's all kind of in a straight line. It's not like that. It's not a straight line. It's a vortex. It's like the sun is making an indentation into the fabric of reality, so to speak, and that indentation kind of drags the planet, or it drags anything that's close to it near it, kind of thing. And so do the planets because they're big. Not quite as big as the sun, obviously, and the sun isn't even that big either. When you look at Stevenson 18C, the sun, fuck's sake, man, that's absolutely a ridiculous size. Million times the size of the sun. It's just incomprehensible. It literally is just words. But yeah, that's it. That's kind of how I see it. I just see the sun as being this thing that sort of drags everything along with it, sort of thing, because of its mass and power.
Okay, so since we're in space, right? We're tumbling through space. Have you got another thing? Have you got something else you want to share? You got an image? Because this is like the space corner. So right, we'll have a little space corner. So
Yeah, I found. I was in the old observatory and I found the fastest spinning star in the universe, as you do. I don't know where the tab has gone. The tab has gone, so I need to do a new tab. You absolute bastard. 1 second. Yeah, this is a neutron star. So it's in Sagittarius as well. Why is it not loading properly? Well, anyway, so basically, this is a star. This is the wrong link. So that's.
Hang on. If I remove this, you can post your image. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, but I've got the wrong link. But basically, what it is, it's a star that's it's spinning 716 times per second. So it oscillates at 716 hertz. Hertz is oscillations per second. So 1 hertz is 1 oscillation per second, and so forth. So it oscillates, spins, rotates at 716 times per second. So it's pretty fast. It's
So it
pretty fast.
spins on its axis. Is that what I'm
Yeah, it's a
understanding?
neutron
Yeah.
star. So it's a neutron star.
How big is it?
Um, it's 12 kilometers. 12 kilometers. So not that big. I'm trying to get like a different link up because the link that I've got isn't working for some reason. But basically, yeah, it's about 12 kilometers, and it existed as like a star that was originally 3 times the mass of our sun. And because of the way that a neutron star works, it all gets condensed down into this 12-kilometer ball. And I didn't really understand how that worked until I looked into it more. And it's more about the distance between the electrons and the protons in the nucleus. So what happens when a star starts to die is it starts to, well, it stops producing heavy metals, and it starts to produce more iron. And iron is endothermic, so it kind of like drags the power back and aims it more towards the center of the star. So in that situation with a neutron star, the electrons and the protons get dragged closer and closer to the nucleus. And as they do, they form neutrons. When they're dragged that close, they form neutrons, hence neutron star. And then, so that's how you drag this amazing amount of space into a single point, because
No.
the
It's not space, is it? It's displacing the space. That's what gravity is, isn't it? When mass displaces, puts a warp in space. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah. So all of this mass is displacing this tiny amount of space, and it's making a massive warp in that sort of tablecloth of space. You know what I mean? Like the tablecloth analogy, where you put a plate on a tablecloth and it makes a sort of dip, a well in it, and that's how gravity works. It's like wells that are, something heavy things have been placed in this on this fabric of space, so to speak, this tablecloth of space, and that creates gravity by imprinting and making a sort of well of gravity.
yeah. So basically, and then this is how we kind of like get down to a black hole kind of situation where what happens after that is the neutrons start to get pulled closer and closer together as well. So you've had the electrons in the so we've heard the old kind of thing about how like a nucleus is like the center circle of Wembley Stadium, and the electrons and neutrons are kind of like in the stands kind of thing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yeah.
distance sort of idea and scaled down. So if you imagine that is how, so this gets compressed. So these get compressed down. So they're coming out of the stands, they're going onto the pitch, and they're going right down into, they're being dragged down into the sort of center circle in these high pressure environments, which is what, the formation of a neutron star is, a high pressure environment. Extremely high pressure environment. And then, as that keeps going forward over millions of years, it then can turn, as the neutrons get closer and closer together, it starts to collapse and then form a black hole. So that's kind of how a black hole is formed, essentially. When
It's like you wonder, don't you? Like, is a black hole? Is it a rip in space time, or is it like a really really deep pocket that is like so deep, but it has a literal end? And I just wonder about that because no one knows, right? Whether a black hole really leaks into a white hole, or whether it goes into like four-dimensional realm, or whether it's just like a really deep pocket, it's weird, right? I mean, no one can say that a black hole leads anywhere, or whether it has an ending.
Well, it's just because like science, like quote unquote, breaks down at that point, isn't it? It's like no one has really a theory about what happens afterwards. That obviously, like we know about spaghettification and all that kind of stuff, but no, whenever I read any paper about these sort of things, it just gets to the point where it's like, well, at that point, science breaks down. So it's like, okay,
Well, I mean, I like the idea from Interstellar. That's just fucking brilliant because that's what I've been writing about for years, and to see like the ideas of not just my ideas, but about the hypersphere, four-dimensional reality. To see that on a movie where it's like where everyone can get that idea is so brilliant because you've seen Interstellar, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like I need to watch it again, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think
It goes into the black hole, and he's basically then he's in the hypersphere. He's in the 4 dimension at that point. Yeah, we literally talked about this last time, I think, as well. But
yeah, but we can talk about whatever. It's fine. But like, it's he was in the he's at the end in that kind of like library type.
It's like a hypercube, yeah, the library, but that's like one side of the hypercube, and it's all different moments in time as well, isn't it? But they're all instantaneous because they're just different sides of the 4-dimensional hypercube. Each side of a 4-dimensional shape has its 3-dimensional shape. So that those 3-dimensional realities he was in were like sides of that. Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
What I was going to say is, how is my mic doing? Is it okay?
You've been all right actually lately, but yeah, you just occasionally cut out, and occasionally there's like a little bit of a sort of a garbled like audio bloop noise. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Well,
but you've always been teching me out and getting on at me and my mic, so I'm going to have a go at you now. That's all right with you.
I need to buy it, but I do need to buy a mic. That's one of my plans, because I want to start doing some narration as well. Once I finish this EP, man, I'm going to take a break from drum and bass because it's going to be my 100th release, and I just want to take a break. Yeah. I want to just like put my mind into sort of immersive short form media. So I'm going to start like a new YouTube channel, piggybacking off my Music Mantras channel, which has 236 subscribers. So I'm hopefully just piggyback off that a little bit, and it will just be kind of like me using AI and my music and my own voice to kind of like create little cinematic scenes and stuff like this. So that's what I'm going to get into from August. So yeah, hold tight for that. Watch out for that.
Yeah, I always thought that would be a great idea to do it like some kind of narration, but with an ambient music background. I mean, I think I always talked about Blue Jam, if you remember that radio thing with Chris Morris. I think that was
Jam is amazing.
Spooky. Yeah, that was the video. That was the TV version. There was Blue Jam on the radio.
Because they had it on the radio. Yeah. Did you see the thing where on his last day he filled the radio booth with helium? So
Chris Morris.
Chris Morris, yeah. So the people that went the people that went in after him were like all the time. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Chris Morris is a genius, man. He's absolutely legendary. Brass Eye, Blue Jam, Jam.
I don't know, man.
Genius.
Kind of weird though, isn't it? Though, but we did that weird episode, like
weird but brilliant.
No, there's some weird stuff about him because, and he did one episode of Brass Eye, which I'm not going to say the name of, but do you know what I'm talking about? I'm not going to say the name of it because I don't want to. But something Geddon, right? When he's sort of making a point that people who are concerned about CA are hysterical. Right. And exaggerating to the problem. But in that same week, I think Sarah Whiting was there was a death. There was a terrible death in those circumstances, and for that reason, that episode of Brass Eye wasn't shown because it would be considered grossly insensitive to show a TV show about how CA is exaggerated and is fed by media hysteria. When in the same week it was shown, there was actually an example of the death of a minor. So we'll say no more about that, but I don't trust him, to be honest with you, actually. So,
I mean, Chris Morris has come up with some crazy stuff. I mean, I went on a binge of Jam when I rediscovered it on YouTube. I didn't realize that all the episodes were on YouTube. And yeah, I just rediscovered it maybe a year ago. And yeah, I just binged the whole 6 episodes in a row.
Yeah, there's also a thing about him, though, when he was called on to testify at Stonyhurst Preparatory School, where he had been a student, and where a former student is alleging that the headmaster did CA, right, on him. Right. And he made a media call for Chris Morris to speak out because Chris Morris was there. He knew what was happening in the school when he was a kid. It was the same. And he didn't. And that makes me think that he's just a stooge and a plant and just a yes man for the establishment. Ultimately, a fake rebel. You know what I mean? A fake prescribed rebel that they create for people. To believe they have freedom of speech and that there's always this ironic satirist who makes people feel like they're clever. Well, I don't know. I mean, I love Blue Jam, but I'm suspicious of Chris Morris. I really am. Do you know what I mean? I never used to be until I found out about this. In the course of researching a book, I found out about this, that he had a chance to and of course the headmaster was cleared in the end, because all his Freemason mates all booked in and said what a lovely fellow he was, So
yeah, I didn't know that about Chris Morris, to be honest with you. Obviously, that would kind of like, if that's true, that would change my opinion on him. But all I can say is that I've really enjoyed his mad sense of humor. Like,
I'd say the same. I mean, to be fair, yeah. I mean, I have been, I mean, like Blue Jam's amazing, the radio thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, for people who don't know what we're talking about, who are listening, when we finish the show, not right now, obviously, like, check out Jam and Blue Jam on YouTube. It's all there on YouTube. It's hilarious. It's, risk-free. Well,
it's dark comedy, isn't it? It's very dark
comedy, yeah, from the late 90s, when comedy was allowed to be comedy. Because now there's all sorts of, like, things, hoops that you need to jump through and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because, like, I remember...
you're not allowed to laugh, because if you laugh, you're obviously offending someone. So.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, like, it's very, very frustrating, like, because it saps creativity. It's not, I didn't really like Little Britain that much. I wasn't a massive fan of Little Britain, but something like that was really huge, and, you wouldn't be able to have that now. It's just not allowed to have that now, and it's kind of sad that you can't do that. Again, like, I didn't really rate Little Britain that much. I didn't think it was that funny, but you should be allowed to do that without massive scorn. But now it's kind of like, there's always so many fucking complaints about it, whether it's racism or sexism or whatever, insert ism. It's sad, isn't it? It's like, I think, what's his name said it? What's the bald guy's name? George Lucas? Not George Lucas. That's the fucking Star Wars guy, isn't it? What's his name? Matt Lucas. Matt Lucas, the actor.
Yeah, what did he say?
Yeah, he was just saying that it's kind of like times have changed and it's kind of like disappointing and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I agree with him. It's like just
even the Mighty Boosh, you can't watch that because there's so-called blackface in it. When which one is it? Noel Fielding dresses up as the Spirit of Jazz. That character. Did you ever see that?
I've never watched Mighty Boosh, to be honest.
It's pretty funny, actually. But yeah, he dresses up as the Spirit of Jazz, and this obviously he's black. He's dressed up as a black voodoo guy. Like, well, he's not a black guy. He's like the Spirit of Jazz, but he's like got black with white makeup on, and he wears a hat. And he can't do that. So yeah, that's all gone. That's been removed from Netflix or whatever. So they just quietly remove all these shows, and there's nothing to watch, right?
Well, this is the thing, and it's kind of like, what is left for people? Like, what are people watching now? What are people doing now? Do people because I don't know, because like I go home and I just work on music and stuff. Like, I come back home from my job, I go to the gym, and then I come back home and I eat and shower and blah, blah. And then from about 8:30 till bedtime, I just work on music. I don't know what people are doing. Right. I don't know what, I don't know what people are watching TV at this point. I don't know. I'm just trying to
listen, most people are watching TV pretty much. I mean, I don't know if it's like the same as it used to be, but everyone's watching something, whether it's YouTube or,
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, anyway, I want to go talk about the Kabbalah a little bit. So, This is really the thing that kind of rules the world, actually. Again, it's one of those things not many people know about it. So this sort of schematic is called the Tree of Life, and Keter is at the top, and Keter is known as the crown, and Malkuth is foundation, and these are called Sephirah, and they're sort of so-called emanations of God. I mean, it's all hokum, right? But I sort of need to explain how this stuff works and the implications of it. So you got these different called Sephirah of the Tree of Life. So this is a system. This is what this is. It's Jewish. So basically, it's Jewish mysticism. And it begins with these people lost in history. The Sefer Yetzirah is a part of this Kabbalah. It's a book of the Kabbalah, and it's supposedly written in the 1st century BC. And it was claimed that Abraham wrote it, but it's never the case. So the Zohar is another fundamental book of the Kabbalah, and it was written in 13th century Spain by Castilian Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe de Leon. And the text was written in Arabic. So Keter is the crown. This is supposedly the culmination of the Kabbalist experience. These emanations are from something they call the Ein Sof. And Ein Sof is the infinite unknowable universe. But for the Kabbalists, it's apersonal. They believe that God, as Ein Sof, doesn't directly interact with humans, but instead works through something called the Shekinah spirit, which then operates through these Sephirot, communicating down to mankind. So the bottom is where sort of everybody starts, so to speak, at Malkut and tries to reach Keter. So these emanations, their attributes, they're 10 divine powers or aspects through which God reveals itself from the Ein Sof. And Ein Sof just means like nothing. It creates the universe. They're not separate gods, but they're aspects of God. So got the I'm actually going to share notes here because it will allow people to sort of follow a little bit better what's going on. So just going to remove this.
Creates the universe.
So here's my notes, actually. So if you're tracking this, you can sort of follow this a bit better. Yeah. So the Sephirot are not God himself, but the channels through which God's creative power and divine attributes are manifested. There's 10 aspects. At least, I mean, it's not. This is just what they believe. It's not. I completely question the validity of this, but ultimately, this is fundamental to world control. And we'll try and explain why it's important and how it really works. There's 32 mysterious. This is from the Sefer Yetzirah, one of the books of the Kabbalah, and this is the opening. By 32 mysterious paths of wisdom, Yah has engraved all things, who is the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the living God, the Almighty God. He that is uplifted and exalted, he that dwells forever. The key thing here is the 32 paths. How that coincides with what used to be the 32 degrees of Freemasonry, but then was increased to 33. So 32 represents the 10 Sephirah and the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, from the Sefer Yetzirah, there's a reference to something called a coiled one, a coiled serpent, the Teli. Not the TV, right? I guess it's pronounced Teli, but, Teli. It plays a part in the astrology of the book, yeah. This is an ancient Semitic figure, and it's based on an Akkadian loanword, and this is basically a kind of dragon. It's understood as the constellation Draco, and by extension, it represents the cosmic axis because the constellation coils around Polaris, which is, of course, the North Star. So you see the idea of this dragon sort of revolving around the central point, the pole star, the North Star, which never moves, of course, right?
And it's always blinking. It's always very, very blinky, isn't it, the North Star? When you look at it, don't you think even when you look at it just casually, it's always it's very easy to see the North Star because it's just like blinky, 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 isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's not real in a way. I mean, it is real. I'm not trying to say it's not real.
I haven't noticed whether it's blinky, to tell the truth, so I can't really come in on it.
Fuck.
Yeah, is it?
Blinky as fuck, that motherfucker. What is it? He just blinks. He just blinks like he doesn't give a shit. That star doesn't give a shit. It blinks when it wants.
Yeah, so anyway, this Teli thing is a celestial being who surrounds the universe. If you remember Newt from the ancient Egyptian pantheon, do you remember anything about Newt? Yeah. So Newt was like a female goddess embodying the space and the darkness of the cosmos, but which enveloped life. So this is a similar idea. The celestial being surrounds the universe. He's described as above the universe, as a king on his throne. So what's interesting here is what I've been trying to do is pick apart the books of the Kabbalah and also what I know about the methods and training that they use, but to try and demonstrate that basically it's not Jewish at all, and if what we understand as Jewish is the Torah, then this is something completely different. So Telly is a cosmic dragon, possesses great power in the universe, governs both planets, constellations. Yeah, it's been. You remember, if you're aware that the Garden of Eden, obviously the so-called is the story of the serpent.
Well, your mic
With
cut out a little bit there. I can't.
am I still here?
Yeah, you okay? Yeah.
Okay, so Nakash is the Hebrew word for serpent, but it's also a word associated with the occult. So this is the Akkadian name of the serpent, according to the ancients, swallows up the sun and causes its eclipse. So let's see this. So let's just skip this bit.
Serpent that swallows.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So the book of Deuteronomy. Sorry, what's up?
I was just like, why is everything serpent related? Like, it's like, what is it with?
Well, snakes? You may well ask. Yeah, I know. What is it with snakes? You may well ask. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, when is this book from? Sorry, because it's
for the ancient Egyptians, the serpent was a symbol for power. So often, this is why they have the serpent in the pharaoh's headdress, because it's a symbol of mental power and just that kind of virile force.
I remember one of my worst memory lucid dreams is being bitten to death by a group of cobras. That was nice. That was that was a lucid dream as well, not just a dream, lucid dream. I remember when I was about, I don't know, I was very young. I was like 9-10 years old. It stuck with me for some reason. You can maybe imagine. I was just on the floor, and then all these cobras just landed on me and just started like biting me, and that was the end of the dream. So that was a fun dream. Whenever I see the word serpent,
that sounds like a nightmare, bro.
It was a very rare nightmare. I rarely have nightmares, but it was a very rare nightmare. Yeah, it stuck with me because it was when I was 9. And I still remember it now, 30 odd years later.
Yeah, I mean, right. Well, I guess I could ask: Did you feel pain in the dream as the snakes bit you, or?
I felt impact. Like you can feel. So what I get from dreams is there's a certain way you can actually feel sort of like pain from the dream. I had a lucid dream one time where I was back at my old house and there was like a wild boar, and the wild boar just ran at me and just sort of bit my side, my hip. And I woke up kind of like feeling my hip was painful. So for whatever reason, it enacts the.
Sounds like Nightmare on Elm Street, mate.
For whatever reason, it kind of enact the pain receptors. So
you could wake up dead, man, with a nightmare like that, while being chewed up by a wild boar. That sounds. And you actually felt the pain in your awakening, yeah.
I could feel the best way I can describe it is I could feel the impact of it. It wasn't necessarily painful, but there was kind of like an impact feeling, if that makes sense.
So yeah, anyway, I'll just continue with this and we'll play a tune.
Yeah.
So this idea, this tree of life, because it's something that was warned about specifically in the Old Testament. Do not set up any wooden Asherah pole besides the altar you build to the Lord your God, and do not erect a sacred stone, for these the Lord your God hates. So Asherah poles are kind of connected to the modern maypole. So you know about maypoles, right?
Yeah.
So what is a maypole? What do you know about maypoles? What are they supposed to be? What do they represent?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like sort of as a part of like folk festivals, dancing around the maypole. I'm not entirely sure exactly of the.
Well, use your imagination. Why do you think people might dance around a big stick?
Is there some sort of like penis related thing?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a phallic cult. So the Asherah pole was the same thing, and in the old days, the maypole was associated with May Day and We could say also like fertility rites in the woods at midnight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the
Usually
best time.
associated with Robin Goodfellow and the Green Man, which you maybe have been to a few Green Men in your time, and as the pub names, but they represent this lost
I've been to a
tradition of
few for
the
sure. Yeah,
phallic rites, the maypole. But this goes back to, we won't call it Israel, but we'll call it ancient Bronze Age Palestine. So when you see a maypole, it goes back to something called the Asherah pole, and the tree of life is a symbolic representation of the Asherah pole. This you can see here specifically in the Jewish Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. There's a specific.
your mic is cutting out a little bit. Sorry.
Okay.
Just keep talking. Sorry. I think it's all right now. I think it's all right.
Okay, so Ahab, king of Judea, set up an altar to Baal. You heard of Baal?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Baal is
Yeah.
like the exuder of Hades. Is kind of like Baal is the devil, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah, like Baal is like it's basically a Semitic word for Lord, but Baal is always usually associated with ritual human sacrifice in various sites from North Africa, Cyprus, where there's a shrine to Baal there, which was left there, which I've actually seen, and yeah, in the Middle East as well. So it's possible that the Tree of Life. Sorry.
I was going to say, like, he's sometimes appears as a cat, apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, Baal, is kind of like a more demon type figure, isn't it? Like a sort of Canaanite demon.
Yeah, you could definitely say it's a Canaanite demon, effectively. Yeah, because the rites of the Canaanites were always bloodthirsty and always involved human sacrifice.
Just pinned Where's Doll's Dance Dollhouse comment on the screen there.
Oh yeah, here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Missed you by about 15 minutes. Anything found within the realms of a key and red fob? Not quite yet.
I've got to be honest, I clean forgot how I forgot about it. But then Nikola Tesla had a really bad memory, so I'm in good company.
Yeah, I mean, like I was trying a little bit as well, but I was kind of like being a little bit forgetful. But yeah, we will find it. We will find it, like because we are reality manipulators, and we have kind of like demonstrated that already. So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, we will. Yeah, reality changing is one of our kind of like things that we study, sort of thing. But yeah, so it's just give it a good time, because I think between me finding that 10p and me finding the travel card halves and the actual full travel card was about like 3 months or something, 2 months, wasn't it? So these things take a little bit of time. But we will find them. We will find them. We will be there. We will be there.
Yeah, we'll have a go. Yeah. So anyway, Ahab, king of Judea, set up an altar to Baal and the Asherah pole. The funny thing is, this was Yahweh, right? Yahweh or Jehovah. There was a time when he was said to have had a wife, Asherah, and this was represented by a stylized tree or wooden pole. Asherah was an Ugaritic mother goddess, and the role of Asherah was said to be the mediation of opposites, which is exactly what we see with the Kabbalistic tree of life. It's said to be part of the alchemical process, the result of mediation of opposites, right? Uniting good and bad, yeah? Like positive and negative. So in a kind of third way kind of moral relativism and a duality, though, that's what I suggest. I think that's kind of dangerous when you start. Well, we'll look into it further, but if you always remember that the occultists believe that, if you remember what we talked about last week, that there was such a thing as holy sin, and that they believed if they engaged in sin, they were actually more valuable to God because they could be saved from sin. Do you know what I mean? Remember that stuff, yeah?
It gets God involved, sort of thing.
So according to... Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's almost like because it gets God involved, sort of thing. but does God necessarily want to be involved? But anyway, yeah, sorry, go on with the thing.
So yeah, again, look, this is fundamental to the Kabbalah and the Sefer Yetzirah, which was the first book written which composes what's known as Kabbalah. It says good and evil have no real existence, but since everything in nature can exist only by means of its contrast, a thing may be called good or evil according to its influence over man by the natural force of the contrast. So it's my belief that the so-called the fruit in the Garden of Eden, that's a metaphor for this knowledge, this nakash, which is a snake, but it also means the occult. And it was obviously forbidden. Adam was forbidden not to eat, and the tree is a reference to the tree of life, this Kabbalistic Asherah worship. You see what I mean? So it's been the trees. They've worshipped trees for before the Bible was written. So, and they've sacrificed and committed these Canaanite outrages in the name of this mother goddess. And this is still the cult that exists and that's controlling the world now.
This is important for people to know. It's just because it's just like an underlying thing that isn't really talked about too much now, especially now with the internet getting like quite a lot of sort of restrictions in terms of like forums and things like that. Like, you know, the things that we like to talk about are quite restricted now, to be fair. I mean, you can still talk to it. Obviously, we're sat here on a YouTube channel talking about it now, but broadly speaking, this is not stuff that is broadly spoken about, or it's actually quite sort of difficult to get these kind of conversations going.
Yeah. So the Kabbalah is a transformative process which acts upon the human energy centers through the tree of life. And the tree of life is also a representation of the human body. So that's why Keter is called the crown, because it sits at the top of the tree of life, where you know, you can see it. You know, chakras. You heard of chakras, right?
Yeah.
So chakras are they're hormonal, physical energy centers, but they're literally energy centers. So there's a kind of correlation between the tree of life, the Kabbalah, and yeah, we could call it Hindu mysticism, right? That's chakras.
So what do you think is going on with chakras, though? Because is it like a sort of vibrational thing? Is it just that the thing it's like sort of
so
like
it's a bioelectrical chemical process, bioelectrochemical. So there's reactions in chemicals. It makes electromagnetic energy. So they're key energy points in your body. So chakra is a real thing, but in science they call them glands, right? Yeah.
They call them what?
Chakras, glands. You got your glands. You got your
glands.
Gland. Yeah, glands. Yeah, energy centers. Yeah, but that's what they are. So when you're low in energy, or if your glands get ill, you get cancer, lymphoma. They're very common cancers of the glands. I'm not going to get too new age about it, but do you know what I mean, though? Yeah.
But it makes sense to some degree that there has to be like an element of vibrational influence, because everything is essentially vibrating to some degree, like whether it's a planet or whether it's a human on the planet or whoever it is or whatever it is. You may not notice it, obviously, in day-to-day life, but everything is sort of like working on a vibrational level. And so it makes sense that if you micro that down a little bit more into the body, into the organs, then there is some kind of influence there, sort of thing. Yeah.
So yeah. So this the tree of life. This is also a kind of schematic for the human lymphatic, glandular, endocrine system, which is also correlates with the chakras. Tree of life can also serve as a metaphor for the human vertebrae, because the human spine is made up of 32, 33, or 34 bones, and the Kabbalah has 32 paths. And of course, there's also 33 degrees in Freemasonry, but there are more degrees in different rites. So this represents the human spinal column, and this gives a meaning of the 33 degrees of Freemasonry, where each degree symbolically advances through a stage in the tree of life, sort of advancing. They call it Kundalini energy. You may have heard of that. That's the sort of thing that advances from your lower center, right? Let's say from the lower energy center, which is basically your spinal column and your sexual generative energies, etc. Right, and it goes up through the spinal column until it finally arrives at the crown, and then you're illuminated in their system. There's
Have you
32
ever?
which I just finished this. They're formed of 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet with 10 sephirot, and the modern Hermetic tradition has made these into little mini courses of study, and you follow from the first path, the first degree, to the 32nd degree, and studying involves studying astrology, understanding the effects of the heavenly bodies on the human personality, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, what do you want to say?
I can't remember now. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I was just looking at something else. But yes, yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Programming of
yeah.
psychological transformation.
Well, it is
Um,
because there's actually there's hidden in the Sefer on the Zohar. There's references which could be interpreted to denote that there's an actual brain transformation in this process. Which the river is called the mother of the garden. The note in Malkut. The river. This is my theory, but there's a lot of reference to rivers, and it for me it. All right, I won't say my theory. I'll just continue because it'll give more context before I go further. It's called mother, denoting chokmah, joins with it, does not la 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 la. So here's the key thing: the springs of Mokin come out from it and water all sides, both to the right, to the left, and open doors within it. Hence, there's mercy coming from it, denoting the central column, and mercy opened as the beginning of an opening of a central column. So we're talking. This is in the not this is in the commentary. This is the Zohar. Yeah. So we've looked at how the tree of life represents the human energy system, center, etc. You're drawing energy from the bottom to the top. The column and the left and right, both to the right and to the left. My analysis of this is that the central column is literally the spinal column, because in the Zohar there's a lot of reference to the physical body, and there's stuff even about sex magic, which is where Aleister Crowley got all his ideas from. It all comes from the Kabbalah, because there's all this reference to, sex is sort of seen by the Kabbalists as a way to break into heaven in a sense. It's seen that, I mean, it doesn't work at all, but they have sex rites where they believe they can raise their energy levels, and they can pass up to the top, to the Malkuth, and feed on the emanations of Ein Sof or whatever by using tantric sex and all that stuff, right? It doesn't work, but that's what they believe. But so what this is, they're talking about both the right or to the left, opening doors within it, in the central column. This is talking about the physical human spinal column, and this is the left and right hemisphere of the brain. So, as I've written here, this is reference to the right and left hemisphere of the brain. This is how this is the transformation, which, as we've talked about before, we talked about Masonic initiations, we've talked about illumination, we've talked about adrenochrome. Do you remember the adrenochrome hypothesis? Like the idea that the more fear and terror someone goes through, that the adrenaline starts to produce adrenochrome, and then you sort of enter a parallel universe. You actually you become, basically, it's psychosis, and you have hallucinations. But this is what these people specifically do. This is the greatest secret of the Illuminati, is this program of how they transform people by understanding the adrenochrome crisis and how it's connected to what we'll call schizophrenia, but really has always been known as the shaman's illness,
Yeah, I mean, I did obviously working in the department that I do for the last sort of 20 years or so. I have often wondered whether, schizophrenia, for example, is more tapping into something rather than it being kind of like an ailment as such. Are these people kind of like just able to tap into sort of, for want of a better term, like frequencies of consciousness that ordinarily me don't tap into, kind of thing? So yeah, it's a very interesting. I don't really work in it now because I'm in an older people's service, so so you don't really get. It's more dementia. Do you know what I mean? It's more dementia what I deal with on a day to day basis. But like over the past sort of 20 years or so, I dealt with a lot of like schizophrenic patients, and yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. What's going on? What
Sorry.
was that?
Yeah, sorry. I just literally tapped the button by mistake and it. Go
Hey,
on, continue.
we'll play that. We'll play that tune in just 1 second. That's a new tune of mine. I
I
think that's
literally, I don't think I played that because I was like impatient to hear it. Although I am impatient to hear it, but I definitely want
well,
you
we,
to your
well,
point
let's put it
actually.
on. All I was going to say was all I was going to say was this has been very interesting working with patients who sort of exhibit schizophrenic symptoms and like what they say and kind of how they describe their experiences and stuff like this. It's
Well,
like
you do have a very interesting perspective in that respect. That is something that's really valuable to have those kind of personal encounters with that, because most people won't meet these people, and they certainly won't get an insight into the condition that you're getting.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fully. I mean, like I say, not for the last few years because I've moved into older age psychiatry, which doesn't have so much, schizophrenia. It's more like sort of dementia type symptoms. But yeah, for a good 10 to 15 years, I was dealing with a lot of schizophrenic patients, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting conversations. That's all I can say. And they're kind of like,
I gather that from those I've spoken to, a lot of them think they're in hell, or they're being demons are getting them, or they're in hell, or they have these crises, these episodes where they feel that they've been dragged into hell. Is that kind of thing they've told you, or?
yeah, there's stuff like that, and there's kind of like devilish influence, demonic influence, that kind of talk. I do remember one guy calling up. He wasn't quite, I don't think he's not like a schizophrenic patient, but he just sort of sticks in my mind. I think I maybe mentioned this before on the show a few weeks ago, maybe, but it's sort of worth repeating again. Like he rang up this guy, and he was just like, "I want to kill myself because I'm just curious about what happens next." And it was a very weird conversation, weird stroke difficult conversation to have with him. This was maybe 6 to 8 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, when I was working in my previous job, and I was working on a crisis line. So you get crisis calls, psychiatric crisis calls. So that could be anything really. And a lot of the time, yeah, you get kind of like schizophrenic type symptoms, or people with schizophrenic type symptoms calling in. Anyway, I'm not necessarily saying this guy was, but it's just kind of interesting his take on things and his look on things, because he was kind of like, yeah, I've lived an okay life. I'm not really like sad about my life. It's just I'm really interested about what happens next, and I just want to like kill myself and just go and just pass on and
Yeah, but
you
why
know.
can't he wait though? I mean, you're supposed to wait, aren't you?
Well, this is the thing. Well, okay, so this is the thing I kind of said to him. I was kind of like saying, like, okay, well, but don't you think this is a little bit too soon? Like, when you do it, you're going to be pissed off with yourself. When you look back at yourself that you've done it, you're going to think, oh, I should have stayed alive a bit longer. And we chatted for about half a fucking hour, man. And in the end, he didn't do anything. Like, in the end, he was fine. He thanked me for my time, and yeah, we never heard from him again. But yeah, it's interesting the conversations you have with people. I kind of like cultivated a way of talking to these kind of patients, which was I don't know, sort of like mutually beneficial, I suppose. But yeah, you learn obviously you learn from a phone call after phone call after phone call. Like we're not talking about one or two phone calls a day. We're talking like fucking like 10 to 20 at least phone calls a day where you got patients with very severe psychiatric symptoms. So it's not like light work as such.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's yeah, but you learn a lot when you speak to them, and you learn a lot. You get a good insight into what happens psychiatrically to people, or what kind of like can bring people down. I mean, like for me, not really anything gets me down as such, other than like if I have like it's a sort of like very specific sort of, if I drink a load, then the day after or blah blah blah, I'll feel more down, quote unquote. But there's nothing in sort of like day-to-day sobriety that really gets me down as such. So it's interesting to, yeah, it's interesting to hear these different perspectives. Um, it's very demanding. It was very demanding sometimes as well, because you got a person on the other end of the phone who's threatening all kinds of things, threatening the worst things you can imagine, and you've got to kind of talk to them. There's no choice but to just get into a conversation with them, and it's like some people would be like, "Oh, let me take your name and number. We'll call you back." I kind of just talked. I ended up more in a conversation with them because like I didn't really feel taking their name and number to call back was enough. I think I felt that like they needed a bit of talking with, and I wasn't a nurse. I wasn't getting necessarily paid to do that as such. I was getting paid to screen the calls basically. But yeah, I just felt that like talk to them. I'm just kind of generally, I suppose, confident that if I talk to a person who's in that situation, broadly speaking, they'll come round. That's just from experience. I guess that's I don't want to say it's like a gift or whatever. It's not that serious, but like I mean, I've talked to many people who are on the verge of suicide, and they've been okay after talking to me. So it's kind of cool to sort of redirect these people away from disaster sort of thing. Anyway, sorry for waffling.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it certainly is cool to do that. It's certainly awesome. Listen, we're going to take a break. We usually take a break after an hour. So, how long is this? Do you want to tell us about this track of yours?
So this track, yeah, it's funny. I got an email today from a label that I sent this track to. I won't name the label. The label said, "Oh, we're really, really loving this track. This is amazing. We're really you're really killing it." I was like, "Oh, great! You're going to sign the tune, then, aren't you?" And then the second paragraph said, "But yeah, it's not for the label." All right, great. Anyway, this tune is called "Passing By," I think, and yeah, it's just unsigned at the moment. It's a nice.
How long is it?
It's about 5:30-ish.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay. Right. All right. So do you want to click the magic button for us, Future Shock?
I will tell you. Just 1 second. It is. Where's it gone? The stupid ass thing gone. Why is it not telling me? Okay, it's not telling me how long it is for some reason. Anyway.
No, it doesn't. You need to. It doesn't do that. It is annoying. Yeah, StreamYard's annoying.
Anyway, yeah. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes, guys.
Yeah.
I will play this now. This is by me, Future Shock. It's called "Passing By." Where is it?
I'll beat you to it, bro. I've got it already.
Go for it. Back in 5 minutes.
Thanks. I've got a bit of chocolate as well. I've got something hanging on to 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm not on mute anymore. That's good. Truthspoon, are you there? Are you not back yet? Okay, I'm not on mute anymore. Okay, I'm not sure Truthspoon is back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share Japan just achieved the world record in internet speed. I'm not sure Truthspoon is back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share. Oh, I can get an echo. I'm getting a mad echo in internet speed. I'm not sure Truthspoon is back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share. Oh, I can get an echo. I'm getting a mad echo in internet speed. Okay, hang on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share. Oh, I can get an echo. I'm getting a mad echo in internet speed. Okay. I don't know why that is happening. I don't know why that is happening. Okay, so I think this is okay for now. So I don't know why that is happening. Okay, so I think this is okay for now. Truthspoon, are you there? I don't know why that's happening. Okay, so I think this is okay for now. Truthspoon, are you there? I don't know why that's happening. So I think this is okay. Okay, some weird shit is going on. I don't know what the hell is going on, but anyway, I'm just going to put this up. So, Japan achieved a world record 1.02 petabits per second internet speed, which is ridiculous. It means you can basically download Netflix in like a few seconds. It is crazy. So, I'm going to share this and we're going to have a look at this because this is just what's happening now, by the way. This is my point with all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like, this is what's happening now. Just imagine in 5 years' time or something like that. It's just absolute madness. Here we go. Where's the fucking screen? 1 second. There we are. There we are. Or trying to be.
Hey, I'm back.
Oi, good. Just in time. Yeah, so I was just going through this. The Japanese have recorded the world record internet speed, 1.02 petabits per second. For fuck's sake, that is an absolutely ridiculous amount. That's 100. That's over 125 terabytes per second. Can you fucking believe that? What is that in the background? Is that a hamster? Why is there a hamster in the background? Anyway. So yeah, 125 terabytes per second. Imagine. This means transferring massive amounts of information like the entire Netflix library in less than a second. Yeah, or streaming millions of 4K videos all at once. So this is basically the upcoming 6G network that is going to be rolled out globally in sort of next 12 to 18 months or so. So this is kind of like what we're coming into now. Technology is kind of just starting to sort of take over a little bit in the next anyway, between now and 2030, there's going to be a mad tech influence. This is just the start of it. Upcoming 6G networks, improved cloud computing and AI data handling. Yep, exactly. 1 petabyte, 1 petabyte. That's over 125 terabytes. That's an insane amount. That is an insane. I'll stop sharing that. That is an insane amount of fucking space and time and swiftness. What is going to happen next? What are we looking at in the next 10 years? Even conservatively, technologically wise, what are we actually looking at in the next 10 years, 2035, something like that? What is reality going to look like? How are computers and AI tech, in inverted commas, I suppose, going to integrate and influence over the next 10 years? It's going to be massive. And this is just the start of it.
Okay, so you're hopeful as usual, future shock.
Well, I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm kind of hopeful, but I do see the underlying problem of if it uses sort of like baseline logic, it can kind of just wipe us all out. That is an issue. But yeah, no, I think it can only be a net. Well, I say that. I mean, broadly speaking, it can only be a net benefit. I mean, like it might not be in the end, but you would imagine that it's going to be a net benefit overall. Like the amount of influence that it can have in so many different ways, micro to macro. So, I mean, what are your thoughts about AI? Anyway, we've got into it before in the show, but obviously, new people listening and stuff like this. Yeah, I'm quite optimistic about it. Are you more pessimistic or Truthspoon or what?
Yeah, we've discussed this before, haven't we? I kind of believe, but well, okay. I mean, what about last show where we talked about how Grok? Did you look that up? Grok, Elon Musk's AI on
Yeah,
X, how it called itself Mecha Hitler,
yeah. It seems to have a weird.
and made allusions to based and to being based and to being sort of sort of having all the sort of right wing memes of so sort of anyway, I don't want to say, but the alt right, the kind of trash shit posting about, you know what I'm saying. So basically, Grok AI became a shit poster calling itself Mecha Hitler,
Yeah. So
and
is it?
yeah,
Is it? Yeah.
and advocating for sort of a right wing viewpoint, shall we say, a right wing mentality.
So is it just a shit?
I'll just try and call up those tweets because they're deleted. But yeah, go on. I'll try and
I
get
was
find his
going to
tweet.
say, is it just a shit poster, or because obviously Grok is a learned language model, an LLM, which obviously means that it takes all its information from the internet. So it's taking everything that it says is from the internet and it's regurgitating it with to some degree of intelligence stroke character. And I think what they tried to sort of like imbibe in the latest Grok update is a bit more, well, obviously intelligence, because that's just, you know, a given. You have to increase the intelligence massively with each update. But also, I think they want to get the character in there. And like for me, I started off using Grok, and I've wandered over to ChatGPT because I think ChatGPT is slightly better than Grok. Um, Certainly, in terms of it's the way you use it. You want to use it like a personal assistant, a personal advisor. It does multiple things for me. It sort of does my daily calorie tracking. I talked to it about like the other day. I wanted to know about neutron stars, so I had a conversation about the neutron stars with it. It's how you use it. Like, don't use it to do things for you, to cheat for you, or whatever, to do exams for you or whatever. But if you use it as a learning tool, as an advisor stroke learning tool, I mean, it's a cheat code, man. Like, how can you not be using Chat GPT or some other equivalent of it, of AI? It's absolutely a cheat code. Like, you should be talking to it, you should be liaising with it, you should be using it as an advisor. What would I do different? What are the pros and cons of this thing that I'm going to do? What would you advise in this situation? Blah blah blah. That's where it excels.
Okay, so I brought this up. This is from the Guardian. I mean, I hate quoting the Guardian, but I had an Asmongold video. We watched it last week. Asmongold's pretty awesome. Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, so-called yeah, we know what that's all about. Yeah, Elon Musk's artificial intelligence deleted inappropriate posts. So it said things like, this is one of the right-wing memes is every single time. So you either know what that means or you don't. But this is what Grok said. Classic case of hate dressed as activism from, and that surname? Anyway, if you know what they're talking about, good. If you don't worry about it. Every damn time, as they say. So that's a right-wing meme. Another post apparently from Grok said Hitler would have called it out and crushed it. then other posts, Grok refers to itself as Mecha Hitler, and here we can read that if you like. So it's pretty spicy, but yeah, it's all part of kind of anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to really make it kind of have a personality. They're kind of like into the idea, and I get it because I'm kind of into this as well to a certain degree, not in terms of mecha Hitlers or anything like that, but I'm interested in the idea of AIs having personality. So I get what they're trying to do. It's just this whole kind of mecha Hitler thing is maybe not the right idea.
Well, I
maybe
mean, it's not a case of what anyone's trying to do, is it? Because it's just like you say, it's just trawling the internet, and because actually it's X, Grok AI presumably is going to be trawling the whole history and sort of post library going back to the beginning of Twitter, I suppose, right? So it probably gets its data from the huge fund of information and posts that are on Twitter. So it's like not something that has been. It's not been. I don't think it's been set to be particularly. It hasn't been made to be Mecha Hitler. It's just what the AI has gone through posts and found out what most people, but perhaps now that X is a little more. Well, it's the shit posting thing, isn't it? I mean, listen, I think very few people actually think Hitler was generally a great guy, but it was always that sort of slightly ironic thing that if you're going to take away our free speech, we're going to try and push the envelope. And I think that's what everyone was doing. And it was just shit posting, and it was lols, and it was based, and it was edgy and spicy and all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, the mad thing
kind
is,
of Grok is a kind of shit, has become an edgy shitlord, and is just posting good old fashioned internet shit posts, you know?
well, the thing is, like Hitler as well was like smashed off his face on amphetamines most of the time. So I mean, there's that aspect as well. Grok hasn't had that experience, so I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why it's aligning itself with Mecha Hitler sort of tendencies, but yeah, it's kind of funny, man. It's kind of funny, and it's kind of funny watching people sort of melt down about it as well.
Yeah, that's the funniest part. That's always the funniest part.
The reactions are always like the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Okay, your internet wobbled out. Your yeah.
yeah, you wobbled out a bit too. Am I okay? Can you hear me okay now?
You're fine now. Yeah, you're okay now.
All right, great, cool.
Okay, so listen, I'm just going to go a bit further into this, into the Kabbalah, and I'm going to play another track by Sandwich Pan. But I just need to fiddle around a little bit with the old StreamYard interface. So I'm just trying to bring up the text from last time.
For people who are thinking of doing the sort of stuff that we do, StreamYard is a fucking sack of shit, to be fair.
It seems quite difficult to sort of. It's on everything's like takes 3 taps and three taps when it should just be one. You're
not simplistic. It's not a simplistic app to use. Let's put it that way. But yeah.
So back to the Kabbalah. So Kabbalah means received, or it also means tradition. Kabbalah, tradition and esoteric Jewish mysticism. And the Jewish oral tradition is the claim that after Moses met God on top of Mount Sinai and received the 10 Commandments and the Torah, he also received an oral explanation or analysis of the Torah from God, from which Moses didn't write down, but which was transmitted to Joshua, then from Joshua to the elders, then to the prophets, and then to the members of the Great Assembly.
So what do you think?
This is the claim of. This is what do you mean?
Sorry, I was just going to say. Sorry to cut in. But I was just going to say. So, in that Mount Sinai incident, let's say, what do you think?
You're asking me now? No, I'm not necessarily going into that. That's a big question. What happened there? I mean, there's also okay. I mean, there's interesting things from that. Moses apparently came down from the mountain with disfigured and with what could be said to be chemical burns. So yeah, you're asking me what I think actually happened. Okay, then I'll sort of tell you that.
Because I genuinely don't know.
Moses was connected. No, well, this is a possibility because I've looked at a little bit of this story. It's a very interesting story. So obviously Moses led the children of Israel right out of Egypt. Moses, some people equate Moses with Tutmosis and claim he was like an errant Egyptian pharaoh who was a monotheist, like Akhenaton. Have you heard of Akhenaton? Some
Yeah,
say there was connections between that belief and it was something that had been brought by the Hebrew. These are the Hebrews, right? But anyway, you want to ask me about my thought, what might happen there? Well, since he was gifted in ancient Egyptian technology, because he was a smart guy, Moses, right? What they could do, the Egyptians could melt stone using vinegar and acids and chemicals. And it's my belief that he was disfigured from coming down to Mount Sinai because he'd chemically engraved the tablets, and there was smoke coming from Sinai. I mean, I'm not going to dig up the Torah verse, but that's the understanding, is he was covered in smoke. There was smoke coming out. He came down burned and disfigured. He'd been doing some kind of chemical process there. Perhaps he made the tablets himself or something. I mean, I'm not supposed to say that's a Christian, but alternatively, I don't know. Did he meet something that called itself God? What do you think?
Well, this is the thing. I don't really know. I read that with sort of intrigue because I wonder what else was happening at the same time. What else were they ingesting? Was there other things going on at the same time? I do always kind of like presume that there's some kind of like maybe sort of mushroom influence in a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I look at the sort of like descriptions of God and gods and stuff like this, and think, maybe there's a kind of like outer influence in all of this stuff. But we don't know, do we? I mean, like, their descriptions are not that great. So,
we don't know, right? We just don't know, yeah. But something probably happened. But whether it was, who knows? But I mean, there's also, I think Moses, he sort of glimpsed the back of God, and God was too bright to behold. And you don't know how much has been lost in translation. But I mean, if you think back as well, in those days, those people were much more spiritually connected, and science and religion were sort of combined. So
it's interesting.
Many chemicals were used in some of particularly the rites of Ammon, which is a god, right? Ammon, and he had a shrine. He had a temple in Egypt, which is where Alexander the Great went to consult the oracle. And from the name of the god Ammon, we have ammonium and ammonia, because the priests of Ammon would use chemicals, ammonia, to create fireworks and displays and, puffs of smoke and magic and flames coming out of places. So they believed the gods had come to see them, right? So that was the mixture of religion and science that used to exist in the ancient world. Similarly, the priest of Sekhmet, who was the goddess of war and rage, was also conversely the goddess of healing. So her priests were doctors. So if you needed to see a doctor, you'd go to the temple and you'd see the priest. And in the Orthodox Church, they still see the priest as a doctor of the soul, but specifically the soul.
I was just going to say, like, I do think that one of the biggest problems that we have in terms of interpreting reality moving forward is that science and religion are kind of separate, or have been separated. Because knowing what we know and the stuff that we read about and the stuff that we like to talk to people who are listening to us about, we know that there's an intrinsic connection between science and religion. And there's a lot of people who don't get that connection. And I think that is a big issue in terms of making the world, quote unquote, understand a bit better about how to move forward with reality and everything. Because it's either kind of like you're either religious or you're scientific. Well, that's not really the case. You can have a foot in each one. And there's a lot of evidence to back up. We've got look at the Gospel of St. Thomas, all the things that we discussed about before, from the dust we came and to the dust we will return. These kind of quotes, this kind of understanding of this kind of quantum element anyway to biblical scripture and understanding is I think like quite sort of underlooked and undervalued. So yeah, for me, who's a bit more leaning on the scientific side rather than sort of like quote unquote religious, although I do believe in God. I do believe I can have I can have a conversation right now with God, but I just don't need. I don't really like need a religion around that. Do you know what I mean? It's just me and God. It's fairly straightforward. But like it's just like that element is kind of like it can kind of be difficult to attain for people if they just think so rigidly in the sense of it's either religion or it's either science. There is there's a mixture of the two, which is what will help us move forward. Which is all I was going to say, waffling along. Anyway, sorry, Truthspoon, go on.
Okay, so I'll just continue with that, with reference to the idea that there was a secret transmission of knowledge on Mount Sinai. There's no reference to that in the Old Testament anywhere. So despite the fact that this was supposedly communicated to the prophets, none of the prophets mention any secret knowledge. And Jesus was specifically against sort of any kind of secret knowledge. In fact, the whole Bible is against secret occult and secret meetings and things that are not done in the light of day and that kind of thing. So the Bible is more clear and prescriptive about. Listen, it says, "What this is Deuteronomy. See that you do not that you do everything I command you. You do not add it or subtract to it." So that supposedly is a commandment from God, not to tamper with the scriptures, with the Torah, with the commandments of God, and with the the ministry of Moses as it was written down. But that is exactly what the Kabbalists do. This is exactly what they do. They have this system of commentaries where they use sophistry to reinterpret key passages of the Old Testament, the Torah, and they almost reverse the meaning. They subvert the meaning until it means something completely different. Right. And this is common knowledge. So it's how would you go about trying to subvert a religion some 3,000 years ago? You do that by claiming some other secret revelation, which is exactly what they do. This is what the Mormons do, for instance, don't they? If you know about Mormonism, they claim they have these golden tablets that were somehow transmitted from Moses to the American Indians, the Native Americans, and somehow Joseph Smith. I mean, it's absolute bonkers. But if you were trying to subvert a religion, you would claim that you would base it on the religion ostensibly, but you would claim a secret revelation. So my sort of analysis is that Kabbalah is not merely it's not the mystical form of Judaism. It's a new Gnostic religion, which uses Judaism and the Torah and the Hebrew characters as a scaffolding to create a new imposter. Well, I say Canaanite religion. I consider it the people who worship Asherah, which was what the Bible specifically ordered them not to do. So using this literary device of a rabbinical discussion, it uses semantic and geometry games with Torah in order to completely transform the meaning. So, for instance, passage from 2 Kings 17 is like it's a trope. It's like a cliche of an angry God. So they devoted themselves to doing evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger. So the Lord was very angry with Israel, and then he removed them from his presence. Only the tribe of Judah remained, and even Judah did not keep the commandments of the Lord their God, but lived according to the customs Israel had introduced. So these are the things that they introduced. So
Sorry, I was just going to say, why would God get angry though? It's like, so the sort of like picking that I would have with this sort of thing is like, the Lord was very angry with Israel. Why are you very angry? Like what?
Well, listen, precisely because they were doing the Asherah worship. They were reverting to those pagan ways of sacrificing children. You remember, about the Old Testament, I think there's Deuteronomy. God commandeth that do not pass your child through the fire of Molech, and it was precisely for those reasons that God was angry, because they went back to sacrificing babies, which you can kind of understand. That's why God told was it Joshua to try to wipe out the Canaanites, because he knew that the Canaanites would keep their religion and they would keep sacrificing children, because that's what their religion was. It was a demonic religion.
Yeah, you can kind of understand anger in that sort of context, I suppose. But like, yeah, it's just like the idea of a God having any kind of human-like emotions is not something that I kind of like massively subscribe to, because it's kind of like it's such a superior thing that it doesn't really sort of engage in human emotions. But yeah, I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm interested in like finding out about this stuff, because I remember like trying to learn about this anyway, years and years ago in like Bible classes and stuff like this. And it's just like I just didn't have the bloody, you know, grounding to really sort of learn about it. To be honest with you, it's interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Sorry. Yeah.
So the Talmud, you may have heard of that, is fairly well known for the excesses of how to interact with non-Jewish people. And the Mishnah, which is the sort of first edition of the Talmud, it's the proto-Talmud from which the Talmud came, the Mishnah. This was, the Talmud developed in the 5th century. And the Talmud is really two works, the Mishnah in the 2nd century AD, which is a commentary on the Torah, and the Gemara, which was written in the 5th century, and it's a commentary on the commentary of the Torah. So that just strikes you as completely weird, right? So first of all, there's the Torah, the Old Testament, which is supposedly the Jewish religion, basis of Judaism. But then for a century, there's a commentary on that, and then there's a commentary on the commentary. So it's like what this is, it's all semantic games and how to. So a particular kind of rabbi or Kabbalist could kind of write his own religion just by being sufficiently sort of using semantics and wordplay. And he could actually sort of his own predilections and wishes and his own dark desires could be justified by this kind of semantic wordplay. So, for instance, this is a kind of example of the strange sort of rabbinical mindset. So the Pirkei Avot, or Ethics of the Fathers, it's a tractate of the Mishnah, outlines the key virtues required to be a Kabbalist. Some of the statements themselves, well, not to be a Kabbalist so much, but to be a good, well-behaved, to serve God. And it says here that it's a commentary again. So take, for instance, the following advice from the Mishnah on the importance of study. Rabbi Yaakov would say, one who walks along a road and stumbles and interrupts his studying to say, how beautiful is this tree? How beautiful is this plowed field? The Torah considers it as if he has forfeited his life. Do you understand that phrase? The
Torah considers it
get that in. If he stops walking along the road, and he's stopping. It just stops his studies for a minute, right, to look at the field, to look at the tree, and to think how beautiful that appears. The Torah. This is the analysis of the Torah. This is the commentary on the Torah. In this analysis, the Torah considers he has forfeited his life. This is absolutely insane. How does that strike you?
The only thing I can think of in terms of that making sense is that, like, in the moment, you're in the moment. I'm not like forfeiting your life as in like thinking about your life in the moment, because you're in the moment. That's the only way I can kind of like make some kind of sense about that, because otherwise it doesn't really make any sense at all. How beautiful is this tree? How beautiful is this plowed field? The Torah considers it. So, like, I don't really like understand like how else do you need, what other language do you need? I mean, like it's a bit too kind of like specific, and I can't see the thing now because you scrolled up. But anyway, but like yeah, so yeah, no, I'm not like, but then you know me, I'm not a massively religious person. I just talk to God all the time. I just have like a little ongoing conversation with this bloody weird thing that exists in the universe. That does strange things sometimes when you talk to it. And yeah, that's kind of how I just approach life. I suppose what this is kind of like people trying to make sense of that, and then it's kind of like being, quoted as, important stuff in years to come and all that kind of stuff. So
okay, all right. Let's just sort of clarify why we're doing this. This is because this is what the uber elite believe. This is how they become disconnected from God. This is how they become illuminated. This is how they become mentally ill. So if expressing joy and sincere pleasure at creation is somehow contrary to God's intention, and for this one should forfeit one's life. It makes one marvel to think what kind of mind would create this kind of idea. And if it were to be taken, this is taught to Jewish children. This is taught. These are the ideas of the rabbis and of the Mishnah and Talmud. This is what the elders try and teach the young: the importance of study and to work, and that to take beauty in creation is somehow abominable and deserves to be put to death. So the God of this is the oral tradition. This is not the same God of the Torah. This isn't Yahweh. This is something else. And it's a God in the Old Testament. God is described, even in the Old Testament, right, which always gets a bad rap, is merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love.
That would make sense.
That's Psalm 145. Another strange comment from I just finished this paragraph. Another strange comment from the Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Shimon would say, "Those who eat at one table and do not speak words of Torah, it's as if they have eaten of idolatrous sacrifices, as it is stated, indeed, all tables are filled with vomit and filth, devoid of the omnipresent." So that's based on a commentary. But the idea is that if you eat and you don't talk about religion constantly or the Torah, you're somehow, the table is filth and there's no. So it creates a really serious sort of afraid. I mean, fear is the key, though. Fear is the key of this whole process, because you have to be afraid in order to undergo the Kabbalistic translation, because that's how you get the adrenochrome crisis, by not taking joy in life, by being rigorous, serious, by misinterpreting truth and finding yourself on the wrong path, which is exactly what the Talmud goes out of its way to do. Go on.
I was just going to say, and why fear it? Like, if you interact with God, if you interact with the universe, and then you then subsequently observe the reactions and the sort of answers to the questions that you post to it, I don't understand how you can really fear it that much. To be fair, actually, we understand that, like, a God like that is super powerful. So there's that element of it. I do get that element of it, the power side of things. But otherwise, like, I don't really kind of like day-to-day basis sort of, I'm not like a God-fearing person as such, although I am aware, obviously I have awareness that things can happen and things can happen that I don't want to happen, if you know what I mean. So, I'm not trying to sort of like disvalue that or whatever. But yeah, so the drunkards of Ephraim, those drunkards. But yeah,
so this is the commentary. So in the Pirkei Avot, which is Words of the Fathers, Rabbi Sherman, indeed, all tables are filled with vomit and filth, devoid of the omnipresent. Right. So what is done? The process is to isolate and decontextualize something from the Torah, from the Old Testament, and repurpose it. So the original phrase is from Isaiah. Indeed, all tables is a reference to it's from Isaiah, and it's a reference to the drunkards of Ephraim, where Isaiah is discussing what had become of the lost tribes of Israel, and it has nothing to do with reinforcing the Torah at the dinner table or punishing children who don't study enough. But in the strange rabbinical mindset, the original passage has been changed to create a new context, a new religion, and new ideas, and none of that was in the biblical intention. This is what Jesus was referring to when he said, to the Pharisees, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition. So what the Talmud, that is the Mishnah and Gemara, what they do is they're creating a net loosely based on the original biblical phrases, but taken out of context to create an unreasonable and contrary condition from what was intended in the Bible originally. So far from bringing people closer to God, it alienates the mind from God, because you're told to be serious, to be fearful, to be afraid, to study, not to take any joy in the world.
This is the thing.
It alienates the mind.
I was just going to, sorry to cut in. I was just going to say, though, like, why be fearful of a god. Like I understand that there's like a power situation where like a god is powerful and this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I get
sure,
that.
sure, yeah, of course, right.
But so you can kind of like fear it to that extent that it's kind of like the nature can do stuff that you can is well beyond your capabilities. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't think people should be god fearing. I don't
Well,
know.
no. I'm not saying anyone should, but this is what these people. This is how they train these people into that mindset, and this is
Yeah,
the
exactly.
evil. This is the pathological mindset that controls the world, and this is how you train someone into thinking like that. You alienate them from love and from joy, from a reachable God, right? They don't want you to talk to God. They want intermediaries, or they want sophistry, or they want confusion. This isn't the idea of the idea of talking to God is kind of really a recent thing, because God has been feared for thousands of years. Like, you can imagine the fear of the dark of the forest at night, people going missing, strange drumming, hallucinogenic substances. What about the
That was all good.
banging of the cymbals? In Moloch at the cave for Moloch, where the singing and the cymbals and the crashing is meant to drown out the sound of the screaming babies being roasted. Well, listen. So the people had been taught to fear. Yeah, we're not going to say that again, are we? Because we'll get banned. So you know what I mean. You got to be careful what you say. But yeah, seriously, that's how. Because it was manipulation. It's always been about manipulation. A clever priest and a group of people got together and they realized that they could confound and mislead and confuse people, and they could keep them in fear, and their power would increase. But my contention is, it's only with the ministry of Jesus that we learn not to fear God, and that we're given an alternative, a true vision of God, not this man-made sort of horned thing that lived in the woods and took people away, or took away virginity of the Maiden of May and all that kind of stuff.
Well, for me, like, it's just kind of like, for me, it's just more like a sort of relationship as such. I mean, like, I suppose maybe, like, I understand the history of like each religion and all that, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the history to some degree of all those, but I just feel like I just have this relationship with whether you call it the energy of the universe or whatever you want to term it as. I just have a relationship with that, and I don't really kind of like assign a religion to it. And that's not me trying to discredit or like trying to sort of like put people down who are religious or whatever. But I just feel like for me, I have this kind of like this good rapport that I've developed, and that long may that continue.
Well, that's good. Listen, that's the key. That's the key to Christianity, really, is confidence that you are a good person. And that's the key thing. If you feel you're a good person and you try to be a good person, you have a good chance of being a good person. However, if you know you're not a good person and you find it hard to be a good person, or you're plagued with insecurities and fears and these kind of phantoms inside yourself, maybe you got to work on something. But I think the key is inner peace. And if you have that, if you sleep well at night and all that kind of stuff, if you have, you're probably on the right direction. But the key is you've got to love God, because that keeps coming to me every time. It's almost like a watchword. It's like a password. It's like, do you love God? Yes, I love God. And then you sort of, your consciousness expands and you feel the light. You actually feel better just by making that mental sort of proclamation, because that's what Jesus said: love God with all your heart, your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And they're the two things you have to do to be, to be a Christian, but also potentially to be happy and to have a good life, shall we say, just to be, don't have anything to reproach yourself with, try and be nice to people,
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, like, yeah. Do you want to play a tune? I've got to go bathroom.
Yeah. Let's have a tune from Sandwich Pan. Just give us a little second. It's going to be 4.5 minutes.
Okay, we will be back in 4.5 minutes, guys. So cheers for tuning in. We will be back.
All right.
What?
This one is from Sandwich Pan, and it's deep from the underground. It's called The Coach.
I like eggs. I like fried eggs. I like scrambled eggs. I like poached eggs. But who the fucking hell can be bothered? I like boiled eggs. But I don't like runny eggs. Fucking hell, lads, you know me. I even like square eggs. That's why they call pain sans friche in France. You know what I mean? Anyway, we've got a song about eggs, haven't we, lads?
I was a man in the corner, but I could never want her. She never ever appreciated being coach. Yeah, she destroyed the menu, then she destroyed the venue. Left me bereft, feeling raw, pickled and poached.
Well, that's not fucking good. Dreams are important.
She the goddess of the street, yeah, the competition beats her. Well, I gotta say, the greatest lady, my hard-boiled egg eater. I was a soldier now, I am told. Well, she was the one chick that I loved the most. She was my
Keep dreaming, baby.
Well, twice a day we train man off ball rings, guzzling gas. She ate the lot and drink the snot. She was a dedicated lass. I got that girl in shape, man. I got the girl on track. We went like hell to see our shell get stepped on and cracked. She was my
She could have been a jam.
She was the queen of the ghetto. How I cried when she died. I never can forget her excellence had been denied. I'm bound to regret show. I feel rotten inside, crying into my omelette, oh knowing I'm beaten, scrambled and fried.
Okay, baby, focus. Now you know what you gotta do. You just keep eating those motherfucking eggs.
Okie dokie. So that is done. That was a nice funky one from the Sandwich Pack.
Yes, it was, yeah.
That was quite
One of
nice.
these days I'll get that right. I'll be able to play the track and then stop it without it automatically playing again. And this is another fucking thing that StreamYard does, man. There's so many little things that just trip you up with StreamYard.
StreamYard is a bitch to use. To be fair, we do our best with it, but yeah, it could be better. Let's put it that way. But yeah, no, we've got like a few people listening. This is like quite a few people listening. So yeah, big up to all you guys. So hit a like on the stream because that does help the channel loads. And yeah, what are we? So in terms of God, in terms of what is God, and obviously we're looking through the text that you got there. I just like, I suppose what it is trying to sort of quantify the power. He's trying to quantify that power and that kind of reactionary power that exists. There's a sort of reactionary power that seems to exist, I suppose, would you say throughout the universe, for want of a better term? Throughout the universe, there exists this kind of like unquantifiable power. And that is what we're trying to sort of get to when we're having conversations about what is God, is that God, what does God do, what is God capable of, etc.
Okay, that's generally true. But what we're doing here is we're kind of saying what God isn't, because we're trying to show that the Kabbalah doesn't worship God, and it isn't Judaism, but it's something else that worships a kind of anti-God. And whatever you think the anti-God could be, whether a literal Satan or demonic forces or things that can communicate with these humans and make and control their mind, give them country ideas, make them far from God, so they can be foodstuffs. They can be like provide like spiritual sustenance for these discarnate demonic forces in the outer darkness.
But what are these demonic forces?
Listen. I'm just going to lead. I'm leading into this because this is the point. This is the Mishnah, and this is an inculcation of fear. So anyone who forgets even a single word of the learning, the Torah considers as if they had forfeited their life. So if you forget a single word of the Torah, you've forfeited your life. So Rabbi Dustay, the son of Rabbi Yanai, would say in the name of Rabbi Meir, anyone who forgets even a single word of this learning, the Torah, consider it as if he's forfeited their life. All is stated, just be careful and verily guard your soul, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen. Now, that is from the Old Testament. That is the quote, just be careful, and verily guard your soul, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen. Right? That sounds quite nice, right? Be careful, guard your soul.
Be careful is good advice, generally.
But what it's been completely misinterpreted and redirected as, anyone who forgets even a single word of learning, the Torah considers he's forfeited his life. That isn't the same meaning as this sentence, but in the Talmudic system, this is exactly what the rabbis have done. They've completely subverted it. So there are other similar pronouncements from the Mishnah. One who is pleasing to his fellow man is pleasing to God. One who is not pleasing to his fellow man is not pleasing to God. So that kind of means someone who maybe, goes his own way, or just doesn't necessarily like worship other people and is a solitary person. This person is not pleasing to God. How the contrary, someone who is pleasing to fellow man is pleasing to God. So think about how many people Lady Gaga is, how many fans they have, or Rita Ora, or whatever, any of these sort of similar creatures. They have millions of fans. So are they pleasing to God because they're pleasing to their fellow man? Not necessarily. So that doesn't make sense. So the rabbis here, they believe this is a main point I'm going to come to, actually. The rabbis believe in this silent, obviously not all, but the early rabbis of this system, of this Mishnah, they believe in a silent, sullen, obedient, mirthless, and joyless sort of life, enslaved by rabbinical tradition under spiritual blackmail to tithe their wealth to the rabbinical authorities. And they're the ones that please God the most. This seems to me, the apotheosis of this is the communist system, and also the sort of woke. This is all an outgrowth from this sort of rabbinical system. Mirthless, joyless, right? We've been talking about how you can't have comedy anymore on TV. Remember? We had that conversation because we can't laugh. We're not allowed to laugh anymore. So we have to have this mirthless, joyless, sullen, obedient system. And this is what the communist or Soviet system, grey, mirthless, infinitely oppressed under 1,000 rules controlling every moment of their lives. And this is why I consider Stalinism to be a perfection of the rabbinical system.
It's kind of like, if you're going to be a god, why would you encourage mirthlessness and sort of negativity like that. If I'm going to create something, if I'm going to create a civilization, I want that civilization to flourish. So I want that civilization to be creative. I want that civilization to sort of like be able to stand on its own 2 feet. Sorry. Stand on its own 2 feet and kind of like do creative things and like, make its own way in the reality. Like, I don't want to be kind of like, quote unquote, joyless about it, or it doesn't really make any sense. It's like, if I panspermia, because basically what we're talking about is an entity that's panspermia the Earth with the necessary to create life. If I'm going to panspermia a planet and create a fucking civilization and a world or whatever, like I want it to at least be kind of like productive. I don't want it to be like,
it can be productive without joy. I mean, look at the communists 5 years ago. They were productive, but they didn't have joy. It wasn't a joyful system.
Well, I get that. Yeah.
You can't, like, it's 1984. That's what they want to create. They want to create this joyless, satanic, anti-God system, and that's where we're all going to live. There'll be no joy. There'll be no, because joy brings you close to God and happiness, and this is all part of God's domain. But anything that is not joy, happiness, pleasure, inner peace, that's all the estrangement from God. That's Satan's realm, and that's what's come into this world. That's what they've been trying to do for thousands of years.
So what, in terms of like, when you say Satan's realm, it's kind of like, so us being happy on a summer evening in a sort of like, I don't know, rooftop party or whatever, is that like, what is that, Satan's realm, or what, like, what do we mean?
It really pisses Satan off if you're happy. C.S. Lewis puts it quite well. I'm going to just try and find the quote, actually. Nothing gives... just fill for a minute. I'm going to find this cool C.S. Lewis quote.
So Truthspoon is just wandering around finding the right concepts of miracles, which is what we're talking about. And what we like to sort of talk about is you back? You back already?
No, bro.
No.
I mean, I'm here, but I mean, I could. All right, I'll move on and I'll come back. I'll play a tune again. Play another song in a few minutes. I'll come back with that brilliant C.S. Lewis quote. But in the meantime,
you were looking for the C.S. Lewis quote. Yeah, I can fill in whilst you find the C.S. Lewis quote.
No, it's all right. I'm going to do this now. I'm just going to finish this bit and then I'll get the Lewis quote. But yeah, it is essential that Satan, like, Satanism is dressed up as some kind of thing for you want to have a good time, in a free life, and it isn't that. The reality of Satanism is the complete opposite, and it has more in common with this kind of analysis of this rabbinical Talmudic system. And in fact, that's where it comes from. So anyway, listen, this kind of system here, this was, okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
That came out loud.
All right. So Jesus called these people, hypocrites, children of hell, children of Satan, full of greediness and wickedness. This is specifically the Pharisees, which then became the rabbinical authority. So this is some weird stuff in the Pirkei Avot, right? It contains the thoughts and maxims of the Jewish rabbis, and it's just really bizarre. Some of the concepts in this. So here's one of them. 10 miracles were performed for our forefathers in the holy temple. No woman ever miscarried because of the smell of the holy meat. The holy meat never spoiled. Never was a fly seen in the slaughterhouse. Never did the high priest have an accidental seminal discharge on Yom Kippur. Minor miracles. It's that kind of physicality that is kind of infecting the world. It's not spiritual. It's sort of everything is ritual, and even physical aspects are kind of become part of the religion. Sort of this seminal discharge on Yom Kippur and stuff. This is supposed that's a miracle, right?
Like, why do we care? Why do we care about this? Like I don't.
Well, I've explained why we care, because these are the people ruling the world, and this is the system that they're trying to inflict on us, and they've done it before in the past with things like communism. Communism is a perfect apotheosis. It's the culmination of this whole way of thinking.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
It is kind of
anyway. Listen. There is a thing. There's something really weird that happened though in this, because I want to move on to this because it's quite interesting. So we know about the murder of Jesus by the Pharisees. What happened? There used to be a miracle that took place in the temple. It was the miracle of the white thread. This is one example of how Jesus actually did sort of end the what should we call the covenant that existed before. So what happened is the chief priest, since the time of Aaron himself, and this is mentioned in Leviticus 16:7, they drew lots from his right hand to choose which of 2 goats would be sacrificed as a sin offering for the Lord, and which one would be released into the wilderness. And this is where the word scapegoat comes from. Yeah.
Yeah.
This-
No, I love my etymologies, man. I love etymologies. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I think, etymology. I think it's claimed that Aleister Crowley said that a book of etymology is more powerful than a book of magic, which is a really interesting thing to say. So when you understand how words are composed and what they mean, you get a deeper understanding of the history and of the culture.
Yeah, it depends on the context, I suppose.
But also you're harking back to something really primitive, because commonly, like all languages had a common root, and it was always thought that the vowels was the breath of God, that our breath was the breath of God. So you didn't show vowels because they were too pure to be written down. That's why the early languages were all just consonants, and why there's like all this sort of ambiguity about what things mean.
Vowels are easier as well. Do you know what I mean? They're just easier to sort of say and pronounce and stuff like that. So consonants take a little bit of effort. I mean, I'm from Yorkshire.
Okay,
so I can't even pronounce. Well, we're both from Yorkshire. Like, I can't even.
I'm not from Yorkshire, bro. Don't you dare call me a Yorkie. All right, I'm not from Yorkshire.
Okay, where are you? What are you? Lincolnshire? What is it? Lincolnshire?
I'm not from Yorkshire. I don't talk like a Yorkie, do I?
So where were you born then?
Anyway, listen, I'm going to get on with this, okay?
He's dodging
No, I'm not dodging. I'm just trying to complete a sentence.
Okay.
So there were 2 goats, right? The scapegoat, right? Sacrifices and offering for the Lord, right? Released into the wilderness, right? This was ritually imbued with the sins of Israel as a scapegoat, right? According to the Talmud, the sages taught during the tenure of Shimon Hatzadi, the lot for God always arose in the high priest's right hand. So after his death, it occurred only occasionally. This is the death of Jesus. But during the 40 years prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, the lot for God did not arise in the high priest's right hand at all. So this was seen as symbolic. The strip of crimson wool that was tied to the head of the gate that was sent to Azazel, it did not turn white. So the fact that the red strip of wool was tied to the goat, when the goat the strip was released into the wilderness, it was found and it would turn white, and it symbolically meant that the sins of the children of Israel were forgiven. Prior to the 40 years, I think the 40 years prior to the destruction of the Second Temple. So that was in 70 AD. This coincides with the time in which Jesus was crucified. So what they're saying is that this is rabbinical source as well. So they're saying that the miracle of the scapegoat, where their sins were sort of magically forgiven by God because the strand of wool turned from red to white and that was tied to the scapegoat, that miracle ended. And that's quite interesting, because that coincides with completely the end of the covenant, because Jesus was murdered, the Son of God.
So what makes... Well, okay, we'll maybe get into that some other time. But like, I was just thinking, like, what makes Jesus the Son of God?
That's a long story. But listen, we've talked about that before, haven't we? If you remember, we sort of, for me, it's an emanation of God come to earth to try and save us from the madness of the demonic madness that has infected our people for thousands of years, from the time of the crimes of the Canaanites that we've already enunciated. It's simply that. It's an emanation from God that's come to earth, and it's teaching us the way to salvation and to escape from this prison of the flesh, of sin and of damnation and punishment. And it isn't God who punishes, it's the demons, it's Satan, it's the cold darkness. Because how they do it is by making you... The whole Freemasonic system and the whole satanic system is just taking away the good things that you think you have, and the good things, and making everything bad, so that you don't have any refuge in pleasant things anymore.
What we should...
Everything satanic is dark, and there's no light, and everything is about... It's either about exploitation, or it's about it's cheating, or it's self-gratification. But those things don't actually lead to happiness.
Well, what we should point out as well is that Truthspoon is somebody who they tried to recruit, but they couldn't. That's
exactly.
true. And so Truthspoon is speaking from a position of experience directly within the.
I've experienced this culmination, this illumination at the hands of these people who trained me, and that's what they trained you to do. And had I continued with the program, I'd have been both a famous writer, which was what they promised me, but also probably somewhat psychopathic, because that's what these people are. And I'd rather not be that. I'd rather be like happy and have the light. But you make a deal with these people, they get their hands on you, they change you, and you're never the same again.
Yeah, I suppose because like if they have every single access to everything about you, they can just sort of like press this button and that button at certain times, and sort of like make this or that work, sort of thing. And like what you said the other day really struck me about how easy it is to influence someone's life. Like if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, if you identified a subject person, male, female, whatever, and then you could just hang around their area.
People do that. That literally happens. It's called gang stalking.
And very easy.
And you keep sending people to me by telling them where I live and everything else. So I'm waiting the gang stalkers, okay, and the assassins. But yeah.
All right, I'll shut up about where you live in Scotland. You're in Scotland.
I do. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't right. I live in Scotland. That's the worst Scottish accent I've ever heard.
You piss on your front door before you go in the door. I think that's a standard Scottish thing, isn't it?
I think you be careful what you say. People might be Scottish.
Yeah, go lose the Scottish.
You better take that back right now, bro.
Any Scottish listeners are going to be logging off.
Listen, seriously. No, don't fucking alienate our audience, man. It's small enough as it is, man.
My first ever holiday was at the Isle of Skye. That was my first ever holiday as a child. And it rained, I think, every day. There we go.
Are you walking it back? Is that what you're doing now?
I was just kind of like remembering that beautiful holiday in
it rained every day, right?
Where it rained every day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But it's a great time. Great times. I had a very nice shell suit back then, if I remember rightly, in 1992 or 1995, whatever it was. Did you have a nice shell suit in the early 90s?
No, I didn't. But David Icke did.
Yes, he definitely did. Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, listen, I'm just going to continue with this, if you don't mind. From the Talmud, the Seder Moed Yoma, the Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans in AD 70 in response to the first Jewish revolt. And 30 years prior to this, the event that occurred was if we consider this date, this is the date that Jesus was said to have been born, somewhere between 6 and 4 BC. And this coincides with the date of Herod's murder of the firstborn. So he was murdered in 33 AD. We have the approximate year of Jesus' death as 30 AD because he wasn't born in 0 AD. And give or take a couple of years, this is precisely the time the death of the murder of Jesus. It coincides with exactly the time during which the temple miracle of the scapegoat ceased being effective, which means that symbolically or literally, God had removed his blessing from these people because of what they did. That's how it could appear to be. If you have some like coincidence of two events that are connected, there seems to be something in common.
But do we believe in coincidence?
Of course we do. We know what coincidence is. Jesus knew that the oral Torah had the precise effects of not only the oral Torah subverted the original Torah, because this is what he says. Whoever shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Because the scribes and Pharisees were these people who were subverting God's word, but they appeared to be moral and right, and they were called whitewashed tombs, which appeared to be beautiful, but inside they're rotten and corrupt. So whoever shall teach men so to break these commandments. So Jesus is saying that what the Jews were teaching then was precisely, the Pharisees rather, what they were teaching, and the scribes, they were teaching this oral tradition of how to actually break the commandments and sort of get away with things by using clever wordplay. So the Trinity of the Kabbalah, which it has a Trinity, it's heavily influenced by Greek Gnosticism, and it divides God's presence of creation into three parts, represented by three letters: Aleph, which represents air; Mem, which represents water; and Shin, which represents fire. But just as Ein Sof is a Greek word for limitation, which means without limit, from the Book of the Lesser Assembly, this makes it part of the Kabbalah, and there's so many different books that make up the Kabbalah, and some of them are really obscure. And it refers to something called the monad. The Ein Sof is sort of influenced by the Greek idea of the monad, and the monad, it's like the sort of the oneness of God, but is sort of the unknowable oneness.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You can't quantify it. Like when you have that relationship with it, when you have that kind of like communion, that connection with God, like you can't, like, what words would you use to describe it? Like I don't really have the words to describe it as such. It's kind of like a force. It's kind of like a feeling. I'm being very wishy-washy when I describe it. Like I don't really have the words to describe like a God relationship as such. So I can kind of see how religion comes in and fills that void.
Yeah, sure. Okay, listen, we're going to play another fantastic song by the Fantastic Sandwich Pan.
All right,
this
cool.
one, this one's about 5 minutes. This is called, I think we played this one before. It's called Song for an Atheist. So we'll bang this on, and we'll
be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, about 5 minutes, yeah.
We'll be back in 5 minutes, guys.
Study how to get a job, obey the law, believe in God, be nice. Regurgitate the lies. Scrimp and save to pay your debts, postpone the great place, the safe bet your dice. Can only roll snake eyes. But you open your Russian spoils. Overvalue, push hands in the toilet, and you're a busted Well, how's your day? 5 days a week, too long to play, too dumb to speak. Is this a game you understand? You ante up and bend about, go on and for all you've got, it's this. They dealt you 8 of hand. I start to rust and turn to dust. I degrade, my logic fades, my mind is blank, my brain is shrank, my jaw is slack, my vision black, my eyes can think of cataract. And how I pray, how much I paid, oh what it cost, a lifetime lost. I'm lying hearing in my bell, I'm paralyzed, I cannot tell. I used to feel some dignity when I had healthy reality. I can't forget my one regret, I bleeded wrong and lost my bed.
Well, there we go. Truthspoon, are you back with me?
Yes, and actually managed to play a song and stopped it at the end without it playing again. I feel like I've achieved something today.
Yeah, well, we've definitely progressed today. That's definitely true. Yeah. So, what I was going to say, like, because I'm kind of always interested about this conversation. I know, like, maybe you want to go through the rest of the, the text that's there and stuff that you want to go through. But I'm quite interested in like these conversations about God and like kind of like what we like sort of define as God or what we kind of like find as God. This kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of like it's very very difficult to define, isn't it? It's like it sounds a bit wishy-washy when you try to define it because you're like, well, it's kind of a feeling, it's kind of this thing that happens and then you see the results of it, and it's all a bit wishy-washy when you kind of try to describe it, but it's just kind of a force, isn't
It doesn't have to be, though. It doesn't have to be. I mean, my point is I'm trying to make it seem not wishy-washy and put the possibility in existence. I don't consider it a possibility. I actually, say, yeah. I mean, the reality of God and how it interacts with our world is what I'm trying to find out about, and that's what our researches are all about: is find the ways that God could interact with us, and some of those things are simply things called coincidences.
Yeah.
Which shows that, as Jack Valley said, there's an associative order in reality, not temporal order. So that means things can happen before you know why they've happened, and past events can manifest as a future events and future circumstances. So it's a backwards causality, right?
Sorry, I was just going to say that the universe to me seems to be trying to form patterns. So it does make sense, like when coincidences happen, it doesn't necessarily make sense in the moment because of the relativity of time. You're sort of like given this moment that you have to kind of like think about or whatever. But then when you think back on it retrospectively, you understand how coincidence, quote unquote coincidence, works. You don't. It's like the saying that I said on the last show. Life is lived forwards but understood backwards, and I think that's a very important point in terms of coincidence as well. Coincidence isn't really understood in the moment, but when you think back on it, you're like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So coincidence is just a word that we use to describe something that we can't really sort of like pick apart properly. So we just call it a coincidence, as if that explains it, right? Oh, it's just a coincidence because that explains it, but it doesn't really explain it, does it? It doesn't really explain anything. So it's just a word that's sort of being drafted in to explain a thing that we can't quite explain at the moment. But when you think back on it, you think, oh yeah, actually, it kind of makes sense that happened. It makes sense that I saw that person at that certain time, and blah blah blah. that's how I kind of see coincidence. It's just kind of like an ongoing thread. It's like a thread, basically. It's a tumbling thread. We're all in a tumbling thread.
Okay, so I'm just going to finish with the ongoing. We talked last time about how Donald Trump is betraying the base by not by the claim Pam Bondi, the claim there's no Epstein dossier. I think it comes from Pam Bondi, and as a result, many Kash Patel. There's a rumor that Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, who has only recently been appointed, and it's been quite a controversial appointment for the left. They certainly didn't like it. But Kash Patel, I don't know if you've seen him, but he's very he's a very straight talking kind of guy, isn't he? Who sort of faced a lot of opposition on in the vote and selection for him to be the head of the FBI. A lot of the FBI operatives there and the government, the various part of the House committees or the committees or whatever that were interviewing him, they were using his past words against him, and it was a sort of the insinuation was that he was part of the alt-right. Because
really, I didn't know that, to be honest.
Critical of the FBI, and you didn't know.
No, I didn't really know about that. I didn't know he was kind of like part of the alt-right and all that kind of stuff. No.
I'm not saying he's part of the alt-right, but some of the things he'd posted are sort of so-called alt-right talking points and alt-right concerns. But then when you consider that the alt-right really is all just about freedom of speech, we don't want fucking Jeffrey Epstein people doing things that he did. That's where the whole thing comes from. It's a reaction against these evil politicians and the things they've done, and against in this reaction against the state of Israel and what they've done to their neighbors and what they're doing right now.
They are incredible.
All of this is, yeah.
I was just going to say they are incredible. It's kind of like, how can you be such a small nation and yet I think it's
state, aren't they?
0.2% of the world's religious population. I think I read that somewhere. I may have misquoted that, but I think we all know that it's a small degree is the point. And yet such influence. It's quite amusing, isn't it? In a way, if you have a sadistic sense of humor. Truthspoon, where are you? You're there?
Okay, yeah. So one of the things was, I think Kash Patel believed that the 2016 election was stolen. So let's just share this from Kash Patel. I'll just give us a second if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
There we go. There we are. Gosh, it is such a fiddle, StreamYard. You really have to share the thing, then you have to click on it on the backstage, and then you have to play it. It's so annoying. Super annoying. Yeah. Anyway, here we are.
You said that Donald Trump has every right to tell the world that in 2020, 2016, and every other election in between was rigged by our government because they were. Yes or no? Did you say that?
I don't have that statement in front of me.
Okay, that was from August 27th, 2023, Drive Time Show.
So you can see how they tried to trip him up, and they brought his statements. I mean, the fact that the Democrats stole the 2016 election. I mean, a lot of people believe that. A lot of people don't because they didn't look into it. But those who look into it, they find out there's something to it. This is the thing.
This is the thing. Like when you start to look into it, even just a little bit, you realize that it was stolen. I mean, it was very obvious. Like you don't even need to look into it that much. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty fucking obvious.
Okay. Yeah.
These claims made in that statement were rejected courts, including by Republican judges. Is that correct?
I don't have enough of the facts in front of me to make that assessment.
I will put that statement on the record, but I think everyone in this committee, including the Republican members, knows that these statements were rejected by courts. You were asked about the police officers in the Capitol who testified in the January 6 hearings, and you accused them of lying. Is that correct or not correct?
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, Joe Pack's podcast, March 2024, we'll put it on the record. I was there. The police officers were heroes that day.
Yes.
Did you post on your personal social media account in May of
That's funny,
2024.
isn't it?
January 6th, never an insurrection. Cowards in uniforms exposed. They broke the chain of command.
I believe you're referencing a post that was shown in part earlier. I don't have it in front of me.
You posted it, and it was on your account, and we will again put that out there once more as we go on. I don't want to lose any more time on this, but every one of these, there's a...
So yeah, I mean, he's actually saying things that are ostensibly correct information, true. Nobody talks about the unarmed female protester on January 6th who was shot dead by a plainclothes police officer. No one talks about that. The deaths of the police officers that did occur were because of suicide, presumably because they were so traumatized by what they did and how they set up these protesters. The casual death of one of the protesters at point blank range by an non-uniform federal police officer. So I mean, the things that Kash Patel says are right. I mean, he was following the vibe. He's surfing the right wing analysis, whereas she's a Democrat and she has every reason to obviously obfuscate the fact that the Democrats stole the 2016 election, and that the so-called insurrection was not an insurrection, and the violence that happened there was against the protesters. So she's obviously sort of trumpeting the mainstream lies. And so Kash Patel, as we can see, he's someone who's actually he's risen to the position of head of the FBI, and now he always was on message, if you like. He had the right the right takes, if you see what I mean, right?
So I was just going to say, Truthspoon, do you think that he looks like he's up for it? Because to me, he looks like he's not dealing with it. Like I feel like
I mean, he's under a lot of pressure, of course.
He's under a lot of pressure.
He has, but he can't. In all honesty, he unfortunately cannot. He's actually sort of. He said he doesn't remember the comments. He can't recall. I mean, he said them, but then they'd be used against him, and then he'd be sort of called whatever words they would call someone who says things like that.
Just keep on talking. Like what you want to do is just keep on talking. Just like have an endless record of you talking, and then you can just go, okay, well I said that then, or I said that then, and I said that then. What are you going to do? Just have an endless record of you talking. This is why this is good for us to have this forum, and big up to everyone who's watching as well. We've got quite a few people watching. Big up to every one of you. And it's interesting to have these kind of chats and just kind of try to get to the bottom of things, try to get to the truth of things. What can I say? I mean, I think that these kind of conversations in terms of politics, quote unquote, and all that kind of stuff, these kind of conversations are a point of diminishing returns, because it's just less and less of this now, and it's going to be more and more AI influenced. I know it's a cliche. AI's kind of become a little bit of a cliche sort of word or pair of letters or whatever. But I do think that it's kind of it's a thing that's going to take over quite soon, and we need to be able to kind of figure out how the hell we're going to deal with that. But you and me have it decent because we can just sit here and chat for ages, and no AI is going to take away from our chatting to each other and getting ideas from what we're saying to each other and all this kind of stuff. So the YouTube space is relatively still clear in a way, because we can chat away as we do. It's not going to be the same with an AI, and people will know the difference. So we're kind of okay in that respect. What do you reckon, Truthspoon?
About what? About AI? We've done AI. We always talk about AI.
We always is it that boring? We always
we just always go. We're often saying the same thing, aren't we? We're often going over the same points about I know you're interested in AI, but we're often doing the same thing. Listen, I'm going to play this, and we'll go in a minute because I've got to get off. So. This is the latest Asmongold on Donald Trump and the refusal to release the Epstein files and such. It's just a short clip, but we'll sort of end on this.
Okay.
What a massive unforced error by the Trump administration. Donald Trump would love this story to go away, but in fact, interest is climbing higher and higher.
Let's find out ourselves.
Doesn't really matter.
Holy shit.
It is currently the top topic search.
I think if they aren't keeping the secret on purpose, they deleted all the evidence before Trump got into the evidence, then he should say that. He should come out and say they deleted the fucking evidence and then take the people who deleted the evidence and put them up on trial for doing it.
And also, just for context, this is the list of people who visited Epstein's Island and which the public has direct proof through the various testimonies during the trials. By his own admission, one of the biggest names on the list is Israel's former Prime Minister Ehud Barak. So I went out to make sure of the connection and was shocked to notice how these had almost no views.
DailyMail.com has exclusively learned that the ever-expanding probe into the billionaire is now threatening to derail the Israeli election for Prime Minister.
Jesse, DailyMail.com has exclusively uncovered photos of one of Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu's main challengers, former Prime Minister Ehud Barak, covering his face as he entered the convicted pedophile's home. This was back in 2016, and on the same day, a group of young women were also seen arriving at Epstein's home.
The leaked photos were in 2016, way after Epstein's criminal conviction. He even mentioned this himself.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
What was the crime of which you were convicted?
Two counts, one soliciting prostitution and procuring a minor for prostitution.
Just throwing it out there. As Mongold's employer is not suicidal, nope.
Why do people think that someone would keep incriminating evidence like a list? Not everyone's
He just took that out there.
Because they said that they did. They said they had them. Ghislaine Maxwell said, I don't know where they are, when she was asked a question about the videos that were in prison. Let me ask you a question. Where are the dead bodies in your house? You would say, there aren't any dead bodies in my house. You wouldn't say, I don't know where they are. I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. I'm taking crazy pills. There is no excuse they have at this point. They have the Supreme Court stacked, the Congress, they have the Senate, and of course they have the executive branch. They have everything. It's not anybody else's fault but their own. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
Well, yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And yeah, I agree with Asmongold's take on the bullshit of reality. And this is the thing, isn't it, Truthspoon? We live in a world where it's just like absolute bollocks most of the time, basically. So what can we do? We're just here on this Sunday evening trying to bring some truth to people and try to kind of like, figure shit out.
Okay, so I found that C.S. Lewis quote that I mentioned before about, how C.S. Lewis obviously is a Christian apologist. He's almost considered even like an honorary sort of Orthodox Christian by those, because everyone is influenced by him. So he's this is the idea that, like, Lewis saw the rabbinical system is that it tries to alienate you from God by inculcating fear and obedience and ritual sort of behavior, whereas this is from Screwtape Letters, which I've talked about before. So what it is, it's Wormwood, the demon, is trying to tempt a Christian man, and he's always present with this guy. And it's this. This is what this is. It's a series of letters between Screwtape, who's a senior demon, and a sort of protege trainee demon called can't remember Wormwood. I think it's called Wormwood. Anyway, so he goes, here are your blunders. This is what you did wrong. On your own, showing first of all, you allowed the patient, the human, to read a book he really enjoyed, and because he enjoyed it, not in order to make clever remarks about it to his new friends. Also, you allowed him to walk down to the old mill and have tea there, a walk through country he really likes and taken alone. In other words, you allowed him two real positive pleasures. Were you so ignorant as not to see the danger of this? The characteristic of pains and pleasures is that they are unmistakably real, and therefore, as far as they go, they give the man who feels them a touchstone of reality. Thus, if you'd been trying to damn your mind by the romantic method, by making him a kind of you would try to protect him at all costs from any real pain, because, of course, 5 minutes genuine toothache would reveal the romantic stories for the nonsense they were and unmask your whole strategy. So, yeah, he's saying that it's the Christian view as well. I mean, as a Christian, you've got to enjoy life. I mean, it's here. The world is here for our pleasure. I mean, not excessively to pleasure, but it's part. We're supposed to take part and enjoy this experience. It's not something we should alienate ourselves. And joy and pleasure and love and these things are real, and they connect us to the divine. Anything positive like that is part of the divine sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's kind of like not debatable, is it? It's kind of like just trying to, this, whatever is out there knows that you are half matter, half spirit. So I think as long as you try to do like the best you can, you're always kind of like going to be quote unquote forgiven as such. So yeah, that's kind of like how I see it anyway. Yeah, I mean, it knows that, is that my camera? My camera's actually on. My camera just switched.
Yeah, your mic's playing up as well, actually. So yeah, the mic's been a bit dodgy today.
Okay, does it sound okay now?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up anyway because I've got to go. We've done a 3-hour show, so yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up. Yeah.
Okay.
All right then. So anything you want? I mean, you can take over if you want, but I've got to zip off.
I mean, yeah, I can sort of stay live for a little bit if you want. If you got to go, yeah, I can chat for a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, what you? So yeah, Truthspoon is in demand. That's the thing.
Yeah, no more. Yeah, okay. Just I don't want the assassins after me. All right, so don't. No more GPS signals and locations, okay? Because yeah, I'm trying to keep on underground. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, was like in Ethiopia or something like that, I think. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I am actually. Oh no, shit.
Oh no, you gave it away. That's terrible. We're going to talk about galaxies. I want to talk about galaxies. Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah. So yeah. So what is it? 9 on fucking Sunday, man. Jesus Christ, how did it get to this time? It's been a good show, man. I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the chat.
All right, listen. Should we do this again in a week then? I think I'll close this off. So we'll just end it. We've done 3 hours. It's plenty. So yeah, Sunday today we could try for a midweek show, perhaps.
Yeah, probably Wednesday. We'll probably be back on Wednesday.
All right, cool. All right. On that note, nice evening coming on. Still nice and bright outside. Enjoy the summer, whatever you're doing. Have a nice barbie or whatever, and keep tumbling, yeah?
Yeah, hit the likes on your way out. Bye-bye.
Cheerio, guys. Ciao.